This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate what if Naruto was adopted by Fem-Shinigami. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
12 years had passed since Konoha was attacked by the Kyuubi. When the courtroom doors opened and, much to the surprise of many, Kami entered the room looking furious. Yami, the underworld's ruler and Kami's sister, was sitting on her in hell, staring at a man who had committed rape and murder, and deciding what kind of torture he would endure for the rest of eternity. "Oh, please tell me you are not here to beg for this bastard's soul sister. If you do, I swear any respect I have for you will be gone," Yami said, turning to face her sister. Kami looked at the individual and replied, "No, you can do with him as you please with my full approval. He's the lowest form of trash there, as I have other issues with you, sister." Yami, seeing the look on Kami's face, said, "Send him to the pits of emo to be raped for all eternity by gay fanboys after permanently dyeing his hair black and dyeing his nails purple to make him look more emo." As he was pulled away, the man cried out, "No, you can't do this, Kami. Please, I beg of you, save me." Yami asked, "So what is it, my dear sister, that you have come here for?" after the man had been hauled away. Kami replied, "Don't play dumb with me, I want him." Blinking and looking perplexed, Yami exclaimed, "Who, I have lots of men here." Kami replied, "Do not try and act innocent. The first have spent the last 12 years looking for him in both the mortal realm and heaven, and I have not found any signs of him after his birth. I even spoke with his parents who sealed Kyuubi in him. Now give me the boy." Yami looked up and said, "Kyuubi been sealed? I think you're mistaken, sister. Kyuubi here and has been ever since Shinigami brought her here nearly 13 years ago." Kami hit her foot on the ground began to shake. On October 10th, 12 years ago, according to the mortal calendar, Madara Uchiha released the Kyuubi from the seal on Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze after she gave birth to her child Naruto. Madara then had the Kyuubi attack Konoha while he fought Minato Namikaze Minato after forcing Madara to flee, summon Shinigami to seal the Kyuubi along with himself and his wife into their son Naruto, turning him into a Jinchuriki. Now something happened, and Minato and Kushina, instead of being sealed in Naruto like they were supposed to, were sent to heaven, and Naruto vanished. After searching everywhere else, I am forced to conclude that Naruto is here in hell. Now bring him to me." Yami sighed as she said, "Listen, Kami, you're maybe my sister, but I don't like being accused of doing things I haven't done." The female voice that said, "Mother," caught Kami's and Yami's attention and silenced her. Yami responded, "What is it, Shinigami? My sister is pissing me off, and I think I can explain for both of you what is going on," a woman with black hair said. With a neutral tone, Yami paused and asked, "What do you mean?" Shinigami said, "Kami is partially correct about the details that happened on October 10th up until the moment Kyuubi was to be sealed. I was summoned that day to seal Kyuubi into a baby boy, and I did arrive. I listened to what the mortal man asked to be done, and he and his wife were both saying their final wishes to their son, and since he still had plenty of chakra left from summoning me, I let them have that one last final moment. As they were finishing, two men arrived. They screamed to the parents, who had used some kind of shield to keep other mortals out, and the oldest one convinced the man who summoned me to drop the shield so they could get to the infant boy when the sealing was done. As he dropped the shield, a pair of kunai shot out of the tree line behind the man and hit both him and his wife in the back of their heads, instantly killing them. It didn't stop there though. The kunai had exploding tags and they went off, blasting both of the men who arrived back and injuring the infant boy. The price of summoning me was a soul. That was the price dictated by both of you. The only two souls that were available were Kyuubi and the infant boys who was dying from his injuries. I saw the man who threw the kunai use his Sharingan eyes to start to control Kyuubi again, and I became pissed, so I decided to complete the sealing and save the boy at the same time. I sealed the Kyuubi inside him and then brought him here and saved his life by giving him my own flesh to replace the skin that was burned, my own blood to replace the blood he was losing from the injuries, and my own power to heal him." "Then you're saying," Yami said. Shinigami replied, "Yes, Maelstrom, the boy I brought before you and told you was of my own flesh and blood, is the boy I saved all those years ago, the boy I claimed as a son and who you have seen as your grandson all these years." Turning back to Shinigami, Yami said to Kami, "You said his name was Naruto. Naruto also means Maelstrom. Why did you never tell me the truth, Shinigami?" Shinigami stated, "He was 2 years old when I first brought him before you. In that time I came to love him as only a mother could. I may not have gave birth to him, but he is my son. I would do whatever it takes to protect him, even defy both of you." Kami replied, "I don't care if you see him as a son. He is not your son. He must be sent back to the human world along with Kyuubi, who is sealed inside of him." Shinigami replied, "Kyuubi is not sealed inside of him any longer, and I won't seal her inside of him either. I will not send my son away, and I don't care what you say, and he is my son." With an authoritative tone, Kami turned to face Yami and said, "Order your daughter to do it." Yami turned and sarcastically said, "Oh, and why should I?" Kami stated, "The boy is too important to the future of the world, he has a destiny he must fulfill." Yami replied, "What's so special about this boy that you need him?" With a frown, Kami remarked, "The boy is the child of prophecy." Yami looked up and replied, "Which prophecy? We start one of these every couple hundred years, so remind me which one we are talking about." Kami exclaimed with a sigh, "The one we gave the toads, the boy who would either save the world or destroy it, you remember now." Yami paused for a moment and replied, Yes, I remember what you speak about, but why him? Mortals are a dime a dozen. Why can't you use someone else besides him? Shinigami didn't break any rules really, bend them yes, break them no, so why can't you leave the boy here and chose someone else?" Kami responded, "Are you mad? The fate of the world rests on this one prophecy. This is the one where the fate of the Biju will be decided with the rebirth of the Jubi or the end of the Biju in the mortal world. The boy is the last of the Senju line and Madara Uchiha is the mastermind against him. He will either save the world from Madara or die, and Madara will destroy the world. I can't replace him. It's taken me nearly 500 years to get to this point. You have to send him back to the mortal world." In response, Shinigami said, "No, I won't let you take my son." With a scowl, Kami told Shinigami, "He is not you. Son, now seal Kyuubi and send him back or else." "Or else what, Kami?" Yami said in a perilous tone. Kami, noticing that Yami was getting ready to fight, took exhalation and said, "Remember the reason the Biju are on the mortal world first, Yami. I let you put them there as a temptation of power for the mortals so you can collect more evil souls. They would stay there until my prophecy was fulfilled, and the time of the prophecy is here, but I can't fulfill the prophecy without the boy. You have to give him to me or surrender all the souls you have taken since the Biju arrived in the mortal world." After Yami scowled, Shinigami uttered the words, "I want do it, mother." With her hands covered in white light, Kami snarled, "That's it, I've had enough of you, child." Shinigami attempted to dodge, but the light struck her, and she disappeared. When Shinigami disappeared, Yami turned around and yelled, "What did you do?" Kami responded, "A deal's a deal, Yami. The boy and the Kitsune are the souls you gained in your daughter. You can't have both, you have to surrender one or the other to me." Yami looked at him and said, "I send Kyuubi and Naruto back to the mortal world, and you give me back my daughter and leave the souls I gained alone." Kami replied, "Providing your daughter does not try and bring him back, I will have one of my angels watch him to ensure she doesn't." With her lips pursed, Yami uttered, "And when he dies?" Kami stated, "He goes wherever his soul should go." Yami turned away from Kami and grinned a little before saying, "Deal." Kami replied, "No tricks, Yami. The boy is too important to my plans." Yami turned around to say, "The boy will make his own decisions in his life once he leaves here. He is free to do as he pleases. I have no control over him, and my daughter will see it like she is cutting the apron strings to allow him to grow up. Deal." Kami replied, "Deal until he is in the mortal world. Your daughter will be sealed away in limbo. He will be back in the mortal world in 3 days," Yami remarked with a frown. Kami remarked, "Why not today?" Yami replied, "Because he is my grandson and I want him to have the chance to say goodbye to his friends." "Why is it that shows compassion, Kami?" Kami looked at her sibling and replied, "I have spent a great many years to get to this point. When he fulfills his destiny, he will bring millions of souls to me. If it causes pain for him, it matters not, because the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few." Yami responded, "Fine. Get out of here so I can send for him and tell him so he may prepare to leave, as well as Kyuubi. I don't want to hear about your victory." "You're right, it will be my victory, sister." Kami grinned and turned to march away. Yami was thinking, "You forgot the most important rule, sister. Free will. You think he goes back, he will do as you want him to do. You don't know my grandson. He doesn't even do what I want him to do." She replied, "Send for Kyuubi and Maelstrom." "Hey grandma, what's up?" said Naruto as he entered a moment later, accompanied by a red-haired girl with 9 tails waving behind her and fox ears on her head. Naruto was 5 feet 10 inches and had blonde hair, blue eyes, and a whiskered face. "Tell me, Maelstrom, has your mom ever told you how you came to be?" Yami said, her lips pursed. With a scowl, Naruto looked at Kyuubi and asked, "What exactly do you mean came to be?" Yami replied, "My sister Kami came here earlier today. She was looking for a Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." Kyuubi hurriedly knelt down and bowed, saying, "Yami-sama, I can explain." Yami responded, "Do you know, Maelstrom, why Kyuubi is acting like this?" With a downward glance, Naruto remarked, "Yes, she's afraid that you will destroy me for not being born of my mother." According to Yami, "So you know the truth?" Naruto raised his eyebrows and said, "I have a photographic memory." Mother originally gave it to me so I would remember the words my birth parents left me with, thinking they were the last words I would hear from them. I remember those words as well as the pain both physically and emotionally I felt from their death and the injuries I sustained from the explosion. I also remember everything Mother sacrificed to save me, as she cut off her own flesh to heal me and gave me her own blood. If you wish to punish anyone for lying to you over the years, let it be me. Please do not punish Mother or Kyuubi. To the astonishment of everyone, he bows to Yami, something he had never done before. Why do you bow, my grandson, when never before have you bowed to anyone? Yami asked, closing her eyes in shock. Naruto replied, because I never once admitted that I was wrong before and had no reason to show such a sign of weakness. In this case I am. Yami nodded and continued, wise answer, grandson. Now arise and know from this day forward that you are my grandson in every way, no matter what anyone says. Now we have a problem. Did your mother ever tell you exactly how souls are collected? Yami said with a sorrowful smile as Naruto looked up in disbelief. Naruto replied, yes, when she was training me to use my powers she took me a few times with her and explained it. For you, Shinigami collects the souls of the truly wicked who cared only for their self and their own ambitions, and for Kami, her daughter Gabriel, collects the souls of the truly pure and noble who sacrifice everything for others. Most souls fall in the category of being in the middle, and when they die they are sent to limbo, where they wait to be reborn in the human world until they fall into one of the two categories, to be sent to eternal salvation or damnation. Yami replied, very good. Did she tell you anything else, like how a truly noble or evil person could be reborn? Naruto replied, yes, she told me that every minute after a mortal dies that a soul is not collected, one sin, either good or evil, is erased from their record, and if it gets to the point where all their sins or noble deeds are erased, they are automatically sent to limbo to be reborn and can't be touched. Yami replied, correct. Now earlier when Kami showed up demanding you, Shinigami confessed to me the truth about you, and Kami demanded that Kyuubi be resealed in you and both of you sent back to the mortal realm because Kami claims you are very important to her future plans. Your mother refused and claimed she would defy both Kami and me to protect you because you were her son. My sister became pissed eventually and attacked your mother and sent her away to limbo and told me that I had two choices because of another deal we had long before you were even born. One was to send both of you back, or she would keep Shinigami in limbo and force me to release every soul that I collected. Since the original deal was made, she told me that she would release your mother once you both were in the mortal realm. With his fist clenched, Naruto uttered, then send us there. Yami grinned and said, I plan to, but not the way my sister wants. Naruto, you are very strong and I am proud of you. It was almost time for your mother to allow you to start growing up on your own by cutting the apron strings, so to speak. You will return to the mortal realm and Kyuubi will go with you, but not sealed inside you. As she kept saying what she wanted to accomplish. After a month, Aoi Rokusho pulled his fist back and punched Ibiki Morino in the stomach where he was bound, causing him to spat out some blood. Aoi replied, now tell me the real names of the Anbu. A knock on the cabin door before Ibiki could respond caused both of them to blink. Aoi produced a kunai and uttered the words, who's there? A woman's voice begged, please sir, I need your help. My brother is burning up with a fever and I'm afraid he'll die. Please sir, if I don't have any money, but if you will help me I'll let you have me to do as you please, but please save my brother. As Aoi blinked, Ibiki yelled, get out of here, girl, he will kill you. With his kunai ready, Aoi ran to the door and yanked it open after slapping Ibiki and swearing. Then Ibiki saw Aoi's body turn over as a figure with his legs wrapped around his head flipped him onto his back. The figure then drew back a fist and pressed it against Aoi's throat, crushing his windpipe. Ibiki heard the figure say something, but it was only a whisper, and then the figure turned to face Ibiki, who for the first time saw the person's face and saw what appeared to be a teenage boy with blonde hair, blue eyes, and 3 whisker marks. The teenager got up and asked, are you okay? Says Ibiki, who are you? The name's Naruto, are you alright? The teenager asked, grabbing the kunai and approaching Ibiki, who tensed until the teen sliced the bindings holding Ibiki in place. Ibiki stood up, rubbed his wrist, and said, thanks for helping, but why are you here and why did you save me? He seemed to relax a little. Naruto replied, me. I was passing by when my companion smelled blood and we came to investigate and saw you being tortured, sloppy as hell also, but anyways we decided it would be a good idea to help. After a moment of tension, Ibiki said, companion, what do you mean? Oh yeah, Kitsu, said Naruto when a fox rounded the corner near Aoi's lifeless body. Naruto exclaimed, this is Kitsu, my companion. Ibiki looked up and said, I see. Well, my name is Ibiki Morino, I'm from Konoha. Where are you from, if you don't mind me asking? Where's your parents? Naruto looked at him and said, my birth parents were murdered the day I was born. Grandma told me that Kami took mom away. Oh well, What about your grandma? Ibiki asked. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and uttered, she's in hell. Ibiki looked up and thought, what the hell, what could his grandmother had done to cause him to act like he doesn't care when he said she's in hell? Asked, wait, where's the girl I heard earlier? According to Kitsune, that was me. Looking at the fox, Ibiki's eyes widened and he said, you can talk. Kitsune stated, I am bound to Naruto-kun until the day he dies, it's part of the contract he has. Contract, are you a summons? Ibiki asked. Yes, Kitsune replied. Ibiki replied, I see, I didn't know there was a Kitsune contract. According to Kitsune, there's not. Ibiki responded, then if it's not the Kitsune contract, what is it? Naruto replied, I don't trust you enough to tell you, besides, you owe us for saving your life. What do you want? Ibiki asked, scowling. Directions, said Naruto. With a blink, Ibiki asked, where are you trying to go? Naruto replied, closest town or village, we are not from around here. Well, where are you from? Ibiki asked. Naruto stated, a distant land across the sea. The land is filled with bandits, thieves, murders, and rapists right now, as someone recently took the daughter of the leader of that land hostage and forced the leader of the land to release the prisoners who were being held in a prison my grandmother was in charge of. My grandmother was forced to send me to these lands to start a new life away from my home. Someday I hope to return and help bring order, but I have to get stronger before I can. I don't want to tell you the name of my home in case you or someone else who might be listening knows about it or tries to go there, causing more trouble. Ibiki replied, I see, that wasn't your first kill, was it? Snorts Naruto as he replies. No, running the prison was sort of a family business. My grandmother was the warden. My mom brought in new prisoners and I was one of the guards. I've had my fair share of idiots thinking since I was so young I would be weak. I usually had to make an example of one every 100 or so. As Ibiki put it, ever thought about being a ninja? Naruto looked at him and responded, ninja, you say? I don't know, I've only been in these lands about a month now and only barely understand your language. How about talking it over after a good night's sleep and a beer? After chuckling, Ibiki remarked, I think I'm starting to like you, kid. With his hands raised, Naruto took a step back and remarked, whoa Bubba, I'm straight and easy, I don't play that. Ibiki's laughter only got louder as he approached and knelt next to all his body, searching his pockets before scowling and stating, you didn't see anything fly away or take anything from his body, did you? After giving Ibiki a quick glance, Naruto remarked, no, why, is there something missing? Ibiki stated, the reason I was captured is this guy used my brother to steal an item from our village. When I came after my brother I was blindsided by this guy. The first was looking for the item but I can't find it and I was sure that he had it. With a glance at Kitsune, Naruto questioned, did you see anything, Kitsune? Kitsune replied, no, but I do smell two other scents around here. One is similar to Ibiki and the other is I really don't know what that smell is. It's heading northeast though. Ibiki replied, that's heading back to Konoha. Alright. I owe you a place to stay and a meal. I'll even put in a good word with my village leader if you wouldn't mind helping me track that other scent. The item that was stolen was a village treasure and is very important. Shielding his head, Naruto said, sure Kitsune, you mind? Kitsune started to sniff and then ran to the northeast, saying, sure. Ibiki promptly encased all his body in a scroll and started to pursue Naruto, who in turn pursued Kitsune. When the group saw the Konoha gates 3 hours later, Ibiki asked, are you still following the scent? Yes, Kitsune replied. Summon a team of Anbu and have them link up with me. Both the boy and the fox are with me also, Ibiki said as they rushed through the gates after spotting the guards at the gate. When the group arrived at the Hokage tower 10 minutes later, Kitsune took a whiff of the air and remarked, the scent is coming from above us out that open window. Ibiki put his hand on both and shushed away, scowling and saying, okay, both of you hold on. The Sandaime Hokage was sitting in his chair with the Raijin on his desk when the three of them appeared in the Hokage office. Across from him was a teenage girl with brown hair, and the Sandaime said, Ibiki, I take it your mission met some complications. He took a moment to look at Naruto and remarked, he looks like Minato. After Kitsune yipped and turned to face the girl, Naruto remarked, I see, the girl is the source of the scent you were tracking. Ibiki replied, yes, the item I was telling you about is on the Hokage desk. Hokage-sama. Allow me to introduce you to Naruto and Kitsune. They saved my life when I was ambushed by Aoi, who proceeded to torture me before they showed up. After a brief moment of hesitation, the Sandaime asked, do you have a last name, Naruto? Naruto replied, no, my great-aunt disgraced our family many years ago and had us lose our family name. The Sandaime asked, is there a problem? After hearing the girl clench her fist and pop her knuckles. The young lady replied, no sir, I'm just nervous since these are the ones I was telling you about I saw over the dead body I told you about. The Sandaime replied, I see well why don't you introduce yourself and then you can as well Naruto as both of you have done a great service today in recovering a stolen village treasure and saving the lives of one of my ninja. I replied, my name is Tenshi. I am originally from a small village in the valley below a temple devoted to Kami and I was asked by my village leader to head to Konoha and learn to become a medic so that I could someday return to my village to be a healer. It was for this reason when I saw the dead Konoha ninja and the legendary Raijin I read about in one of the archives of my village library that I grabbed it and came as quickly as possible to Konoha and asked if I could use it in order to become a kunoichi to Konoha so that I may learn to become a medic nin. According to the Sandaime, I see and you Naruto. Naruto replied, not much I can really say names Naruto. My family's been in the business of running a prison for years until the daughter to the ruler of my land was kidnapped and used as a hostage where the ruler was forced to release some prisoners who caused all kinds of problems. My mother was taken from me by Kami, so me and the little angel here will probably won't get along and my grandmother's in hell now while my homeland is filled with murders, rapists, thieves, and other demons like them. Grandma sent me here for a new life before she went to hell and I was just passing through when my companion and I came across the sight of Ibiki being tortured and decided to help him since we could tell by the way the other guy was talking and acting he was the criminal. After that when Ibiki couldn't find that little thing you have on your desk my companion picked up the girl's scent and Ibiki hired us to follow the scent and here we are so, about the bed and beer. When he looked at Ibiki. The Sandaime continued to look at Naruto and I as Ibiki nervously glanced at him and said, so you both want to become ninja of Konoha? The answer was, yes. Hokage-sama. Naruto sighed and replied, don't know I've only been in these lands for a month don't really know what you call ninja I've never been one to take orders either I usually give them. The Sandaime looked at Ibiki and said, sir, while I admit that Naruto is a little rough around the edges you must consider his past with having to deal with prisoners who would test him to see if they could get away with bossing him around so he had to be strong and his skills are impressive. He was able to set a trap that distracted Aoi and made it where he could and did kill Aoi in less than 2 seconds sir he's also got a summoning contract and his companion is able to track as good as an Inuzuka. In response, the Sandaime asked, what contract do you have? Hounds, thought Naruto, the hounds of hell. Blinking, Ibiki reflected, so that's why I forgot kitsunes are a branch of dogs. The thought crossed Ai's mind. Kami is not going to be happy he was supposed to get the toads. I see what are you ages and when are your birthdays? The Sandaime asked, taking a seat back. According to Naruto, October 10th, almost 13 years ago. The Sandaime said, really that is very uncommon Naruto would you mind doing me a favor to prove something? As I said, same? This caused everyone in the room to blink. Naruto replied, no I have nothing to prove you can ask me what you want and I might do it but if I don't want to I won't. As the Sandaime let loose some ki, he asked, are you testing my patience? Unaffected by the ki, Naruto snorted and said, this is how it's done. I and Ibiki both collapsed to the ground, gasping for air, and the Sandaime started to perspire while motionless. Naruto then said, I am not testing you I just desire my own privacy and I never agree to anything unless I know in advance what I am agreeing to. I was just passing through when I saved his life and even if the little angel here brought in that little thing there, it would have been lost without me stopping Aoi in the first place. Only reason I'm here is Ibiki promised me a place to stay the night and a beer to pay me back for saving his life and helping track the scent that's all I'm after for now, so if you will excuse me, I'll let you continue your meeting while I wait for what is owed me. Naruto stopped releasing his ki and started to leave the room when 4 Shushin appeared, and the Anbu started drawing their weapons. Naruto turned and delivered an uppercut to another's chin, shattering the mask and sending the Anbu high enough to hit the roof and knock him out. Naruto then thrust a palm into one Anbu's chest, sending the Anbu flying out the window backwards and shattering the window before lifting his arms from where they were still in the Anbu's stomach and slamming his fist into the mask of the Anbu. Naruto slammed both of his elbows into the guts of the 2 Anbu that were still alive both of them flew back against the bookshelf. All of this occurred in less than 3 seconds, and as both men froze in place, Naruto turned with a sword he had taken from the Anbu beneath Ibiki's chin and a kunai beneath the Sandaime's neck who had come around the desk. As he fell into his shadow and dropped the sword to the ground, Naruto uttered, I don't like being attacked and I don't bow to anyone we passed a dango stand on the way here I'll buy me and Kitsu some dango and sake there and send the bill to you Ibiki as payment for what you owe me after that I'm leaving. The room fell silent, and Ai's, whoa, statement relieved the tension. Hokage-sama, please pardon me for bringing them in here I had no idea he would, Ibiki said after he had recovered swiftly. Ibiki was interrupted by eyes. Blood. Sandame uttered the words. What? That was what you were after, weren't you? I said, pointing to the ground close to the Sandame. When Naruto hit the Anbu mask, it cut his hand. What makes you say that? Asked the Sandame, blinking. Looking at the pictures on the wall behind her, I remarked. I questioned it myself since I saw it. Could he be the Yondaime son from an accidental birth or something? With a frown, the Sandame remarked, you're very perceptive. I remarked, I try. Sir, I just hope to impress you enough to get permission to train as a ninja so I can become a medic. Since the one we had perished in a mudslide back in the spring, my village needs one. Very well, I want what you saw and heard today to be a secret that you are not permitted to discuss with anyone, including the potential identity of Naruto. The Sandame said if you do this, I'll let you into the academy and test you to determine your placement. I'll start working on your paperwork soon, so please wait outside my office. Thank you, Hokage-sama, you were very noble and kind, I said as she turned to leave the office. She said, may Kami bless you. After she left, the Sandame reached down, took off his robes, picked up the drying blood with a kunai, and proceeded to the picture of Minato. He pulled it open to reveal a secret compartment with a seal. The Sandame then applied blood to the seal, which glowed, and a scroll emerged, shocking both Ibiki and the Sandame. In closing, the Sandame uttered the words, Ibiki, tell me everything about Naruto. In the dango stand across town, Naruto remarked, thanks lady. Ibiki still in the Hokage office. No problem, Gaki. Anko said, I assume what you said was true because I saw you and him strolling around town together, but aren't you too young to be drinking? Old enough to drink, old enough to gamble, old enough to fuck, Naruto remarked. Thus, a name was given. Amen. Someone with some brains. The names are Anko, so what's your plans after this? Anko grinned. Looking around, Naruto gestured with his head to Anko, who leaned in closer. After he gestured again, Naruto then went to whisper in her ear. That depends on how many orgasms you can handle before passing out and how soundproof your bedroom is. With a sly smile, Anko leaned back and said, sorry kid, you not my type. Naruto grinned and remarked, I bet I can make you change your mind. Says Anko. Doubt it, kid? Anko frowned as Naruto remarked, once bitten twice shy huh? Naruto then instructed Anko to check the mirror in the bathroom. You'll be shocked by what you observe. With narrowed eyes, Anko uttered the words, what? Naruto replied, I already fulfilled your wildest dream. I bet before the end of the day I can fulfill a couple more. When Anko's eyes widened and she went a shade darker, she said, that's not funny, Gaki. Naruto replied, does it look like I'm joking? Go get your cute ass up so I can see it again and go see that I'm telling the truth. Anko leapt to her feet, bit her lip, and hurried to the restroom. She moved her coat to the side as she entered the bathroom, and when she saw that the cursed seal had disappeared from her neck, her eyes widened and tears started to well up. A hand wiped the tears from her left cheek, and Anko jumped back to see Naruto there, who asked, so ever been into voyeurism? How? Anko said. Sorry, that's my secret, Naruto said. Then he moved too quickly for Anko to see, kissing her on the neck while rubbing her stomach with one hand and her ass with the other, making Anko shiver. Naruto whispered, you're free now, indulge in your own pleasure for once, forget the rules of norm and decencies. As Anko felt her entire body becoming aroused as her body exploded from the treatment Naruto gave her and his voice whispered in her ear, she said, indulge in your own guilty pleasure and enjoy life. You are kunoichi. Live life while you are alive. Anko turned and started kissing Naruto passionately. Naruto picked up her legs, one on each side, and placed her on the counter. He tore her panties off her and dropped his pants enough to get his hands on her. Then he started giving her a hard fuck while they were kissing. After a few orgasms, Anko was on the verge of fainting when everything around her began to shimmer. She found herself standing in front of the bathroom mirror. Kurenai standing next to her, and she asked, did you hear me, Anko? Are you okay? Anko asked, where's Naruto? After blinking and glancing around to see that the cursed seal was still missing, when she reached her hand up under her skirt and found her underwear in one piece and exactly where it should have been, she asked herself, what just happened? Anko, what's gotten into you? Kurenai said, seeing Anko freak out, who is Naruto? Ignoring Kurenai, Anko hurried away and proceeded to the table where Naruto had been. There, she discovered a note that read, because life is too short not to enjoy it, indulge in your guilty pleasures. Additionally, Kami is a fucking bitch, don't thank her. Acknowledged an indulgence in sin. Kurenai, who had followed Anko out, read the note and asked, are you alright, Anko? As Anko started laughing and wiped tears from her eyes. Alright, you ask if I'm okay, Anko said. She shifted her coat just enough to reveal her neck away from the curse seal, startling Kurenai, saying, "I am fucking fantastic, I'm free Nia, look." Then Kurenai said, "How?" Anko took Kurenai by the arm and started to pull her away, saying, "A new friend come on, this calls for a celebration." I ran up and yelled, "Naruto," as she got closer to Naruto, who was almost at the gates. She stopped a few feet away, and Naruto turned to frown at her. "Where are you going?" she asked. "You are unable to depart." "Oh," Naruto said, blinking, "and why is that? Why should I stay in this village when I don't live here and there is nothing I want here?" I replied, "Because Kami wants you here." I said, "Hey, didn't you hear me?" as Naruto snorted and started to leave for the gates. Naruto turned and said, "I heard you, okay, but neither Kami nor you, Angel, can give me orders. Have you ever heard of free will?" He turned and started to leave when an Anbu team showed up, saying, "If not, you need to get your head out of the clouds sometimes." "Excuse me, are you Naruto?" said one wearing a dog mask. "No, you can't tell that I'm Santa Claus because of my red outfit, snow white beard, and belly," Naruto said. He gestured to Kitsune, who was perched on his shoulder, saying, "This is Rudolph and his red nose." A dragon-masked Anbu declared, "Answer the question or you will be detained." Naruto replied, "That would be the third worst mistake you could make." "Look, we don't want any trouble," Inu said. "You fit Naruto's description, so I'll let you know that the Sandame wants to talk to you for a little while." "That's nice," Naruto remarked as he started to move toward the gate. He said, "I'll make sure to meet up with him first thing the next time I'm in town." Inu replied, "I'm afraid that you can't leave." After scraping his thumb against the spot where attack was on his belt, Naruto flashed through some hand signals in less than a second and slammed his hands on the ground while saying, "Kachiyose no Jutsu." When the smoke cleared, a 200-foot tall, three-headed, gray and black dog with Naruto on its middle head stood there. Naruto looked down at the people of Konoha and said, "Say hello to my little friend. Cerberus boys, say hello to Konoha." A huge puff of smoke covered the area, and a howl that sent shivers down everyone's spines was heard. The three dogs' howls startled the people. The Sandame was among the several ninja who showed up and asked, "What's going on here?" "You tell me," Naruto said. "After I kicked the first squad's ass in your office earlier, a second group of Anbu attempted to stop me as I was about to leave the village. I am neither a Konoha ninja nor a citizen of this nation. In fact, I am not even a citizen. Give me one reason why I shouldn't have my pups here urinating all over your village after I helped recover the stolen Raijin, killed a traitor to your village, and saved the life of one of your ninja. Now, when I try to leave, your men tell me I can't." He patted the ear of the dog head he was standing on and said, "It's been about a year since I let these guys out to use the restroom, and they really need to go, isn't that right, boys?" Several people in the vicinity were startled by the three dogs yapping. "I have information that I think would interest you. It's about your birth parents, Naruto," the Sandame said with a frown. "Really? And I would care about them? Why?" snorted Naruto. "For the past 12 years, I have been cared for by a woman who loved me more than either of them did." Naruto said, "This is a cave troll, one of my slaves. You try and lie to me again, coward, and I'll have an army of them rise from the ground and destroy your village." The Sandame said, "That's not true. Your parents loved you," but was stopped by a rumbling sound, and the earth started to crumble as a 10-foot wooden club and a gray hand and arm emerged from the ground. A gray creature that was more than 15 feet tall then emerged from the earth. When Naruto noticed that everyone was tense, he said, "Now I know exactly what you're going to say, coward, and I call you that because that's exactly what you and that gray-haired Anbu standing there in the dog mask are. After all, when the man who caused the Kyuubi attack killed the Yondaime and his wife in front of you, you two turned and fled like the cowards you are. Surprisingly, I remember that day. It's a gift I received from Shinigami, a photographic memory. When the Yondaime and his wife were about to stop the Kyuubi attack, I recall that they were each killed by a kunai with an exploding tag wrapped around them and thrown into the back of their skulls. I also recall that you both arrived before that and caused them to drop the shield that prevented anyone from stopping them from defeating Kyuubi. I also recall that day because it was the day I was born and the day I was set on fire by the exploding tags that killed my birth parents, and how you two left me hurt and in agony at the feet of Kyuubi and the man in the spiral mask." After scowling, the Sandame remarked, "Then your coming here was a setup." Naruto was heard laughing and saying, "Please, like I give a damn about you or this pitiful village. If you're wondering why I came here, it's because Kami is an absolute bitch. I am the accepted and honored grandson of Yami, guardian of hell, and godson of the Kyuubi. Isn't that right, grandmother?" He was covered in smoke as he looked at the fox on his shoulder, and then a sight that terrified almost everyone appeared. The Kyuubi in all her glory standing next to Cerberus before she leapt into the air, transformed into her human hybrid form, and shushined beside Naruto Shinigami herself has been raising me for the past 12 years, and she saved me on the day you abandoned me. Naruto said, now you want to know why I am here. You see that girl there, well, she's not human, she's in fact an angel sent here to make sure my mother doesn't come and bring me home because Kami a fucking bitch who kidnapped my mother, Shinigami, and forced Grandma Yami to send me to Earth to clean up your fucking mess, coward. Why don't you tell the people of this village how you have lied to them all these years along with every other Hokage? That Kyuubi was in fact sealed in the wife of the Shoden Hokage who before her death sealed the Kyuubi into Kushina Uzumaki who became the wife of the Yondaime Hokage. That the reason Kyuubi attacked was because Madara Uchiha is still alive and that he was the man who broke the seal holding Kyuubi prisoner and used his Sharingan on her to force her to attack your village. But you don't, coward, instead you run away and keep secrets. But that is what you're good at after all. It was you, Kaharu, Hamaru, and Danzo who ordered the Uchiha massacre that Itachi carried out. With the help of Madara Uchiha, that Danzo stole the Sharingan eyes from the bodies of the Uchiha clan for power. That he had your student Orochimaru rob the graves of the Shoden Hokage so he could experiment on your people to recreate the Mokuton bloodline. But your lies don't end there. The curse seal that Anko has been hurt by all these years, that was secretly being funded by you. Why don't you tell how you didn't force Orochimaru to flee until he actually created a working Mokuton test subject? Isn't that right, dragon? Smirking, Naruto glanced at the startled as he said, bet you're wondering how I know all this. Damned men who are going to be punished for all eternity are willing to spill their guts for a chance at a lesser sentence. You would be surprised how many ninja get sent to hell. Guess that's what you get for being nothing but murderers, rapist, assassin, and thieves. What's wrong, Angel? Pissed that I'm not playing Kami game? I don't care, I'm not her pawn and she can go fuck herself. The deal was for me to return to this world and deal with the Biju and Madara. She didn't specify how I did it. She also said I had to bring Kyuubi with me, never said I couldn't bring anyone else. I scowled at Naruto, who responded, now I never like to go anywhere without getting my friends and family gifts. Danzo, yes, you soul is evil as hell and tainted from all the things you have done. I think it will make a great gift for Grandma Yami. Your soul is mine. His eyes turned black, and everyone saw a ghostly figure that appeared to be Danzo begin to scream as it headed toward Naruto and into his eye before he was silenced. Everyone was freaking out at this point, and many were fleeing. Naruto was saying, Cerberus, you need a new chew toy, those gates look like they will do. The gates were torn from the walls by the three dog heads that grabbed them and started to shake. Before putting it in his pocket, Naruto shocked everyone by activating the Raijin and remarking, and this will make a nice gift for mom to tempt mortals with. What about me, Naruto-kun? Kyuubi asked. Naruto was saying, troll, goblins. Destroy the faces on the mountain since all of them have committed crimes against Kyuubi and should not be honored. Before everyone noticed goblins emerging and fled in the direction of the mountain, almost 100 tiny green arms appeared out of the ground. Numerous ninjas started attempting to attack the troll and goblin, as well as Cerberus, who turned and started to flee while chewing on the gates with all three of its mouths. After scowling and surveying her surroundings, I stooped forward and, shocking many who had doubted Naruto's words, angel wings appeared on her back. She then flew into the air and started pursuing Naruto. After venting to herself about what Naruto had done to her flight, I landed in a clearing several hours later at dusk and started to look around. She soon discovered Naruto and Kistu sitting by a fire with a number of fish on top. Naruto gestured to the fire and asked, would you like a fish, Angel, or is it beneath you to eat mortal food? Why did you do that back in Konoha? Do you have any idea what you have just done? I asked after biting her lip and pausing for a few moments to collect herself. Naruto grinned and remarked, I know exactly what I have done. When she saw that smirk, I bit her lip and uttered, you have ruined. When Naruto interrupted her laughter, I frowned and questioned, what are you laughing at? With a gesture toward Kitsu, Naruto uttered, what is Kitsu here? With a perplexed expression, I uttered, a demon. A Kitsune? Kitsu said. I replied, yeah, what does that have to do with anything? Naruto replied, do you really think having a Kitsune for a godmother would come without a few benefits like learning Kitsune illusions? Naruto covered his mouth to contain his laughter as I blinked and became more perplexed. What is so funny? You have ruined Kami, I said. Everything that happened after the moment the dog-faced Anbu asked are you Naruto was an illusion he placed on you, Kitsu, who was also snickering, said after he saw I get a tick mark above her eye. While you were trapped in the illusion, Naruto and I were taken to see the Hokage and you revealed to the village your wings and flew away chasing a cage bun Shin who was powering the illusion to make you think that we were fleeing the village. Gotcha. CYA in Konoha. Both of them vanished in a puff of smoke, and the fire vanished too. Later, as night fell, I let out a frustrated scream before taking off and returning to Konoha. It was already past midnight when I returned to Konoha, and in order to get there, she had to fly more slowly and change course. A group of Anbu members surrounded her as she was moving through the village, and she froze. One of them, wearing a Neko mask, said, "Surrender and come with us." As she was led away, I sighed. The Sandaime Hokage, wearing a robe and wearing a frown, asked her, "Why did you leave the village and how did you fly away?" as she soon arrived at the Hokage residence. I breathed deeply and said, "I have wings and can fly because it's my bloodline. My last name should explain it. I was so excited about having your approval to join the academy so I could become a medic. I flew all the way back to my village and informed them. I know it was pretty stupid, but so many people back home are counting on me and I just wanted to let them know it was going to be okay." As she reflected on her words, "Kami, forgive me for lying, it's for the greater good." The Sandaime responded, "I see I am giving you only one warning, as I can understand what you must have felt, but this is your only warning. This is not your home village, this is Konoha, and there are rules that must be followed. If you want to return to your home village you will have to get clearance from me. Does your bloodline have any other effects besides giving you wings and the ability to fly?" I replied, "Not that I am aware of, sir. Since most of my family have devoted our life to Kami, we are not much for fighting or using our bloodline for more than quickly going from one place to another." The Sandaime replied, "Very well, remember, this is your only warning. If you disobey me I will have to have your memory sealed away of everything that happened to Konoha and banish you from here. Do you understand?" I replied, "Yes, Hokage-sama, and thank you." The Sandaime replied, "Then go to your apartment I gave you and get some sleep. You have to be at the academy at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow." I replied, "Yes, Hokage-sama. What happened to Naruto?" As he turned and left for his house, the Sandaime said, "You can ask him yourself tomorrow when you see him at the academy. Now if you will excuse me, it is late and I want some sleep. Anbu, return to your duties." After noticing that the Anbu was no longer there, I sighed and started to walk away. An hour later, she thought, "Kami, please no more. My first day in the mortal world and it was a nightmare. I didn't even eat yesterday." She had ascended a flight of stairs. Sleep was gnawing at her senses when she finally arrived at apartment 316 of the Chestnut Apartments. She opened the door and entered, thinking, "Oh, thank you, Kami. The apartment is furnished, must find bed." She found the bedroom quickly, but as soon as she saw the bed, her vision became blurry, so she dragged herself to it and passed out before she hit it. When the sun began to shine through the window the following morning, I moaned, shifted into her pillow, and uttered the words, "I'm warm." The voice of a man said, "Thanks, you smell nice also." When she pulled the cover around herself and saw Naruto in the bed wearing only a pair of black silk boxers, her mind froze for a few seconds, and she jumped up and screamed, "Ah!" She yelled, "What are you doing in my bed, you filthy heathen?" Naruto scratched his ears and said, "Damn, you sure have a set of lunges. Now the question you should be asking is what are you doing in my bed in my apartment, and the only reason I am dirty is because of you and your dirty skanky ass cloths. You and that bony ass of yours fell on me at 3 a.m. this morning making me dirty." The part about the filthy cloth that made I flush said, "This is my apartment 316. In response, Naruto yanked the cover away from her and said, "Wrong, go look at the number on the door. This is apartment 319, you airhead, and give me back my cover. I furnished this place and I am not letting you steal what is mine." "Damn Kit," Kitsune said in a scowling tone, "don't tell me you fucked the angel. I didn't know you were that desperate for a bed partner." "I'm not. This bony ass bitch came in here at 3 in the morning and fell on top of me. If she hadn't been passed out when she landed, I would have slit her throat since I already had a kunai under her neck for breaking in last night," Naruto said, turning eye pale as he glanced at Kitsune, who was standing in the doorway in her human form with red hair and red eyes. I replied, "But this is apartment 316, the apartment the Sandaime gave me." Kitsune replied, "Told you we should have went to the landlord over that loose nail on the number 9 yesterday. You said nobody would be stupid enough to think this was 316 since 317 was beside us along with 321 and across from us is 318. Guess you were wrong, Kit." Naruto replied, "Yeah, I guess they don't teach common sense in heaven. Well, you're awake and I need breakfast and a shower, so get out, angel." He was staring at I. But, said I was startled when Naruto yelled, "NOW," and fled the bedroom through the door. Following her departure, Kitsune said, "Kit, I know you're pissed and I understand why you were treating her like that, but don't become something you're not. Yami told you all she wanted us to do was come together with me acting as your servant and friend, and you live the life like you want and be yourself. Don't let her or Kami decide what you do. It's your free will. I respect that and I respect why you are treating the angel like you are, but do it your way, not as a demon. You are better than our kind." When she left, As his body shimmered slightly, a less than normal Naruto sat there with scars covering most of his chest. He closed his eyes as memories of pain rushed through him. Then he shook his head and his body shimmered again. Appearing normal, Naruto thought, or am I a demon who has been awakened by those who came into his territory? As he looked at the spot where Kitsune had stood moments earlier. When they were both ready, Naruto and Kitsune left the apartment and started to head for the stairs. However, when they heard someone crying outside door 316, Naruto and Kitsune stopped. Kitsune stared at Naruto for a few minutes while he stared at the door, and then she said, "Kit," in a curious tone. Naruto turned and began to leave, saying, "Let's go." Before Kitsune started to follow Naruto, she gave him one last glance before turning to face the door. No, Naruto thought, biting his lip, she is my enemy, I must get rid of her. Leaning against the door of the empty apartment, Ai was sobbing with her knees to her chest when she heard the words, "Kit," and "Let's go." She recognized Naruto and Kitsune's voices and quickly wiped her face with her hands before heading to the bathroom. The Sandaime was standing there when Naruto and Kitsune arrived at the academy. He said, "You arrived a little earlier than I anticipated, Naruto. We just need to wait on Ai, and I'll take you 3 in to get registered." After running up a few minutes later, Ai said, "Sorry Hokage-sama if I am late." Naruto thought, her clothes are wet. Are those her only clothes? You're right on time, but why are your clothes wet? The Sandaime asked. It's because I took too long in the shower. I stated my clothes were soaked by the steam. In a short while, they will be all right. Very well, the Sandaime said. He led the 3 into the academy and said, "Come." The Sandaime led them to room 301 and knocked on the door a short while after they had stopped by the office to register. "Oh, hello Hokage-sama. Can I help you?" said a man with black hair and a scar on his nose as the door opened. "Yes, Uruka, I have 3 new students who have recently arrived in Konoha and have chosen to join us," the Sandaime said as he entered, followed by the 3 teenagers. "Despite the fact that they are all a year older and more experienced than the other students in your class, I believe that giving them an opportunity to interact with your classmates will help them learn more about our village and the Konoha clans. I and Kitsune here both have ancestries. All 3 of us do." Sarutobi, Naruto stated. "Show Hokage-sama pro," said Uruka. "Naruto is a special case, Uruka," the Sandaime said, placing his hand on Uruka's shoulder. "He has no respect for me because of a crime I committed against him and other ninja who are under my command. He can call me anything he wants. No one will receive respect from Naruto unless they have earned it. In his opinion, you will see why if he chooses to share his personal story with you. Naruto, please limit your abilities and don't place any of my ninja in a hospital or cemetery." "You're kidding, right Hokage-sama?" Mizuki remarked. "No, Naruto here killed a missing ninja of Konoha in less than 3 seconds. He took out an entire squad of Anbu, and he put both Ibiki and myself in kill shots all in less than 3 seconds, the Sandaime said, glancing at Mizuki. "In actuality, I think Naruto is capable of being a special Junin, but since he has spent the majority of his life outside of the elemental nations and has only been here for a month, I felt that putting him in an environment with people his own age at the academy would benefit him and give him time to become familiar with our country, allowing us to accurately assess his abilities and his servant as well. He is only here for those reasons." I uttered the words, "servant," as everyone gasped. "Hokage-sama, I believe that slavery was prohibited in Fire Country." "It is not slavery," Kitsune declared. "Even though I may be the last of my clan, I still abide by its rules and owe Naruto-kun a life debt because he saved my life. I am his until the day he passes away, at which point I am honor-bound to commit suicide unless he has a task he wants me to finish. After he passes away, I am honored to be bound to die after that so that I can serve him in the afterlife. If any of you consider trying to save my life in order to have me serve you, it will not work because I am already bound and nothing will alter that." "Very well, why don't you introduce yourself to the class and we can get class started?" Uruka said, scowling at Ai. "My name is Ai Tenshi and I came to Konoha to learn to become a medic nin so that I can someday return to my home village to be a doctor. Since our last doctor died in a mudslide, my village has no name as we are under the control of one of the temples of Kami who are neutral to all nations." I sighed after a moment of waiting and seeing that both Naruto and Kitsune were staring at her. She then stepped back to indicate that she was finished. Kitsune came forward and said, "My name is Kitsune Henge of the Henge clan of Water Country. The land of water has a civil war going on where anyone with a bloodline is thought to be the source of wars and are hunted down and killed. As far as I know, I am the last of my clan, and that was how Naruto and I met, as he saved my life from those who were attacking me because of who I am." When she returned with a sigh, Naruto turned to face Sarutobi and uttered, "Graduation, right?" "As per our agreement," said Sarutobi, "I heard you all right. But I don't take orders from Kami or you, Angel. Ever hear of something called free will? If not, Then you need to get your head out of the clouds sometimes, Naruto said. Turning to leave when an Anbu team appeared, Naruto closed his eyes, and when he opened them, they were black then. The entire room shimmered, shocking everyone as they realized they were on the streets of Konoha, with Kitsune in her fox form on his shoulder and Ai standing next to him. "Excuse me, are you Naruto?" said one wearing a dog mask. Pointing to Kitsune on his shoulder, Naruto remarked, "No, I'm Santa Claus, can't you tell my belly, red outfit, and snow white beard? This is Rudolph and his red nose." A dragon-masked Anbu declared, "Answer the question or you will be detained." Naruto replied, "That would be the third worst mistake you could make." Inu replied, "Look, we don't want any trouble. Since you match the description of Naruto, I will inform you that the Sandaime would like to have a few words with you." Naruto started to move toward the gate and remarked, "That's nice, I'll be sure to get with him first thing the next time I'm in town." Inu replied, "I'm afraid that you can't leave." After giving Ai a quick glance, Naruto said, "Whoa, she really is an airhead. Her family must be conceited as hell to call their family name Tenshi. So you won't let me leave without seeing your village leader? Fine. Let's get this over with." Ai then leaned forward, and angel wings shot out of her back, sending her flying into the air away from Konoha and shocking everyone on the street. The Sandaime said, "Ah Naruto, thank you for coming again, and I wish to say I'm sorry for starting things on the wrong foot earlier. Inu, you may leave us and continue your duties." Inu approached, put his hand on Naruto's shoulder across from Kitsune, and ushered both of them to the Hokage office. Inu replied, "Before I go, Hokage-sama, I think you should know that girl who was here earlier just sprouted wings from her back and flew away from the village when we were asking Naruto to come with us." "Very well, notify all Anbu if she returns to detain her and bring her to me for questioning," said Sarutobi with a frown. Inu shushens and nods, and Naruto, "So what are you holding me prisoner here for? Your ninja wouldn't let me leave, and I don't feel like kicking more of their ass today, especially in front of civilians who will instantly think I am the bad guy when I'm the victim here. I swear. This is the last time I save one of your ninja life, you ungrateful bastard." He was staring at Sarutobi. Sarutobi gave a deep breath and said, "I am sorry the way things have happened, and it is not my intentions to cause trouble, and I am very thankful for your help in saving Ibiki life. So grateful that I have some information that I believe will interest you. I have information about your birth parents." "Really? And how can you be sure that these so-called birth parents you claim are really mine? Were you there the day I was born?" Naruto asked, blinking before reaching up and rubbing Kitsu's neck. According to Sarutobi, "Yes, I was," Naruto replied. I see. I take it you used the blood from where I scraped my hand against the Anbu mask when I kicked their ass earlier and used it against my parents on some kind of seal which unsealed something, right?" "Yes." Sarutobi replied. Naruto replied, "And the items that was unsealed, does it belong to me or does it belong to the village?" Sarutobi responded, "I'm afraid it was your father's journal of secret information that is important to Konoha. Your father was." Naruto replied, "Enough. I have only one question. Is there anything that my birth parents left that I can have? I mean money, jutsu, property, anything of value I can use or sell that you can give me right now, yes or no?" According to Sarutobi, since Kono, Naruto replied, "Yes or no. Is it the yes part that confuses you or the no part?" With a frown, Sarutobi said, "No." Naruto replied, "Then do I have any other family, siblings, aunts, uncles, anyone?" "No," said Sarutobi. Naruto turned and headed for the door, saying, "Then we have nothing to talk about now. I am leaving." "Wait," said Sarutobi, "don't you want to know about your parents?" "Don't be a picky eater, and I'm sorry, but you're going to face hard and painful times ahead, son," the woman said, as Naruto's eyes turned black and the world shimmered, revealing a field and a red-haired woman with chains sticking out of her body, holding the Kyuubi and the Yondaime, with the Shinigami's ghostly figure behind him. "Minato, Kushina, stop. There has to be another way than sealing the Kyuubi into your son," said Sarutobi, who was standing outside of a barrier. Minato turned to him and said, "Naruto has to be sacrificed to save the village." Sarutobi, "I never wanted this burden passed on to my son, and I wanted to be there for him, but protecting the village comes first." Kakashi responded, "Sensei, at least drop the barrier so we can help you and get your son to safety. It will give you more chakra to finish the sealing." "Very well, release," Minato said, putting his hands together. As a pair of kunais sailed through the air and entered Minato and Kushina's heads before exploding, the barrier surrounding them collapsed and a figure in the trees screamed, "Fools!" This caught everyone's attention. While the man in the mask gazed at Kyuubi and said, "Kyuubi, hear me and follow my commands. I command you to continue your attack on." The baby blanket with Naruto on it started to smoke from a tiny ember. Everyone turned to watch the blanket catch fire, and when they saw that it was baby Naruto screaming, Sarutobi and Jiraiya turned to face him and muttered, "We must prepare the village, there's nothing we can do for him. You and the other man abandoned me to be consumed by flames at the feet of the Kyuubi and at the hands of the man you watched murder my birth parents. You are one of 5 people I hate, until you admitted that you were there the day I was born. I did not know it was you for sure because you have aged greatly since that day. I knew you looked a lot like the person from my memory, but I wasn't for sure until that moment." The room glowed once more, and Sarutobi and Naruto were in the Hokage office. "Naruto, you have to," said Sarutobi, scowling. Naruto let out a little key and yelled, "Shut the fuck up." Naruto replied, "Do you know who the other 4 people I hate are? I hate the man who left with you, whoever he was, for abandoning me. I hate Minato and Kushina also." "You hate your parents, why?" said Sarutobi in a startled tone. Naruto said, "Jinchuriki, the power of a human sacrifice. That was what the sealing that they were performing. They were going to seal the Kyuubi into me. I looked up what that ritual was and I found out Jinchuriki are used as weapons. You take a newborn child and you seal a demon inside the child so the child would take the chakra from the demon and could use it for the good of the village. Those are the lucky bastards me. If they would have succeeded in sealing Kyuubi in me." I also read about what happened to Jinchuriki, who were created to save Their village. They were treated as demons themselves by the people they were used to save. I hate Minato and Kushina because they were willing to sacrifice me to a life of pain, loneliness, and suffering, and for what? Because they love me. I call bullshit. If a parent loves their child, they would protect the child when faced with what they were facing. They could have took me and got the fuck out of the area like any parent who loved their child, but did they know they purposely sought out and captured Kyuubi to seal it in me so they could curse me to a life of pain and suffering, so they could go and lick Kami pussy and fuck her for blessing them for doing the noble thing and causing their child to suffer a lifetime of pain and suffering. They did what they had to in order to protect the village, scowled Sarutobi. Naruto said, "And that brings me to the 5th person I hate. Kami herself. Everyone preaches about the good of the many outweigh the good of the few. You abandoned me to be burned alive for the good of the many. My parents planned to curse me by sealing a demon in me to live a life of pain and suffering for the good of the many. My true mother was taken from me by Kami because of the good of the many. But I call bullshit. You're a fucking ninja, as was Minato and Kushina. They don't have honor and neither do you. You get paid by your client to murder, steal, and hurt whoever it is that pissed off your client, and your kunoichi are paid prostitutes. The Fire Lord wants to build a new hot spring for himself in a village, but the place where he wants it built has the only grocery store in the village, and he refuses to sell his land that has been in his family for generations. The Fire Lord pays you to kill that man and you send your ninja to do it so the Fire Lord could have his hot spring while the town suffers from the loss of the store as well as the loss of their friend or family. Where is the good of the many there? How you say that so you don't have to feel bad at night for the things you do." The Sandaime gasped when he saw the scars on Naruto's body, and Naruto said, "This is the result of you abandoning me. After you left and the man in the mask left while I suffered from my wounds, a woman who witnessed what had happened came to me and she tried to heal me using her own flesh she cut and peeled from her body and her own blood to help replace what I lost, while also using her chakra to heal me before she took me with her and raised me as her son until Kami took her from me." Sarutobi scowled, and Naruto said, "Well, face this." He then tore off his shirt, put his hands together, and exclaimed, "Release. I apologize, Naruto," Sarutobi said, casting a downward glance. After a few moments of silence, Naruto asked, "Are you genuinely sorry?" "Yes," Sarutobi replied. According to Naruto, "Then how about a deal?" Everyone was in the classroom when the room shimmered once more, and a number of children got up and fled to the window, the trash can, or the exit of the classroom to start throwing up. When I noticed that Iruka and Mizuki were not much better, he turned to Naruto and cried, "Don't give me those fucking tears, Angel. You're the 6th person I despise, and you know why. Is that all, Iruka? I don't think your class is feeling well." After swallowing, Iruka uttered, "Yes, class is dismissed for the day." Kitsune hurried from the room as Naruto nodded and sank into his shadow. "Sir, what?" Iruka said after they had left. The Sandaime replied, "Just accept him as a student and treat him as any other student, but don't expect respect. That is all I can say, but do not attempt to pass him early, Iruka. He has to stay and graduate with this class. That's all I can say." Mizuki responded, "What about Kyuubi, sir? I mean, with what we just saw, the story about Kyuubi defeat and death can't be true if that was real." He shushed away, and the Sandaime said, "It was real. I don't know what happened to Kyuubi. I must return to my duties." With a frown, Iruka asked herself, "What was the deal you made and why are you so off, sir?" When Shikamaru and Choji were walking up a small hill a few hours later, Shikamaru exclaimed, Troublesome, what are you doing here? Naruto looked at him and replied, I was enjoying the clouds until you showed up. I thought for sure I could get some privacy here. Sitting back and gazing up at the sky, Shikamaru uttered the words, Troublesome. This is my best friend Shoki Akamichi, and my name is Shikamaru Nara. Naruto replied, Naruto, just Naruto, you both were in that class, weren't you? According to Choji, yeah Chip. Naruto looked at him, then at the chip, and Choji took a bite out of one and took out another bag of chips, saying, what, you don't like ranch? I got barbecue also. Naruto replied, sorry, I've had prisoners try and poison me or bribe me all the time back home, so I learned to be cautious around accepting things. Prisoners? Why did you hang around with prisoners? Asked Shikamaru. There was a moment when Naruto said, my grandmother ran a prison and my mom brought in new prisoners. I was basically head of security there. It's one of the reasons I'm such a hard ass. Aside from your feud with the Sandame and that girl, Shikamaru remarked. Naruto replied, well, there that also, so why aren't you both freaked out? Choji grumbled and said, my family owns a restaurant and I have had to help prepare the animals for cooking, and Shikamaru family are deer herders, so he has had to kill them, so you could say we both are immune to things like that. Do they hurt? I mean the scar tissue. Our families are also into medicines as well. A moment later, Naruto exclaimed, no, all the pain receptors in my body have been destroyed and all the pain neurons in my brain were fried. According to Choji, I bet that's a handy in a fight. Naruto looked at him and replied, no, it makes it more dangerous for me. I can feel contact but no pain, so I could punch my hand through a glass window and know I made contact and not feel the pain, but have my hand cut up really bad from it, which could cost me the use of my hands or bleed to death. I have to constantly be on alert to what my body comes in contact with to make sure I don't overdo it. Then he grinned and said, but back home in the pit of endurance it was one hell of an advantage. What's the pit of endurance? Inquired Choji. Naruto replied, well, I told you how I was head of security at the prison. The pit of endurance was a 100-level basic street brawl. All the real violent prisoners, the ones who were charged with murder or preying on the weak. To help keep them from in control by never letting them completely recover, we forced all of them into this pit and they would fight against each other to try and make it past the 100th level. Only one prisoner was allowed to get past that 100th level, and whoever did got an hour of semi-freedom. They would be allowed to have a date from the other prisoners, either a man or a woman depending on their sexual preference, who share a dinner until both were stuffed. They would get to enjoy a hot spring for an hour together alone, and then a special room with soundproofing so they could be alone all night, but the next morning at 6 a.m. they would be released back into general population, and at 9 a.m. all the violent criminals would be released back into the pit again. With his eyes darting back and forth, Shikamaru sat up and uttered, and you were in this pit. Naruto laughed and said, damn good steak. I was the only guard who would go into the pit and fight hand to hand with them. No chakra, no weapons, and no armor. It showed them I wasn't some 2-bit punk they could beat on. I wasn't the one locked in with them, they were the ones locked in it with me. Then after I won I offered my free dinner companion for information. Whoever was willing to rat out about contraband or escape attempts or things like that, and the info had to be real and proven, I would allow to share the meal and let them have the hot spring and room to themselves after they told me everything they knew. And you always won, Choji said. Naruto replied, no. There were a few who avoided the fighting or picked which fights to fight so they could quickly advance to the higher levels. It was as much of a race as it was a test of battle skills. Of course, after the prisoners saw who did it, they would set traps to gang up on them the next day, making it harder for that person to win again, and friends become allies today and enemies who stab you in the back tomorrow, and it helped to make it where they wouldn't work together since they couldn't trust the other prisoners. I kept trying to get grandma to let me change the rules to where the last man standing also gets a prize, but she wouldn't let me. Said I had to be fair. It was supposed to be hell for them. Why should I be fair? Because of the fake tears. Choji began to sweat drop. He's more insane than Ino, Sakura, and Sasuke combined, the two boys remarked. Shikamaru shook his head when Naruto calmed down, and Naruto responded, go ahead, I know you want to. Choji inquired, want to what? Naruto replied, ask what's my beef with the angel and what my deal with Sarutobi is that would make stay. According to Shikamaru, and the answer to those questions are. Both boys stood up and turned to face Naruto, who was lying on his back staring at the clouds, when he said, ever wonder what really happened to Kyuubi? According to Shikamaru, yes, Naruto said, to know that answer you need to know the truth about Kami and Yami. Kami and Yami both, when they were given the world of mortals, couldn't agree on what to do with it and the mortals living here. Our world is only one of many that has mortals on it. Anyways, I won't bore you with any more on that and get on with the story. Kami and Yami both were debating about what to do with the world one day when they saw a man who looked very weak from hunger who lived on an island filled with a lot of other people who were also hungry because a hurricane came through and destroyed their island and their crops. Kami was about to go before the man and tell him to share the fish with everyone on the island because she believed the needs of the many outweighed the needs of the few. Yami saw the man and said that he should feed himself since he worked hard for it and he need the food. They fought like sisters do until they made a bet they would let the man decide himself without their direct involvement. Kami said if the man gave the fish to others she would create a place to reward him where you would never have to suffer again. Choji responded, "What does this have to do with anything and how do you know this?" "Patience, my big-boned friend, and everything will be revealed," Naruto said, glancing at Choji. In that moment Naruto earned the respect of both Shikamaru and Choji as he continued, "Anyways they waited and the man did offer to share the fish with others. But the other people who saw the fish and saw there wasn't enough for everyone attacked the man and killed him. Yami saw this and she became angry and decided to punish those people who killed the man by being selfish. That was how what we know as heaven and hell was created." Both sisters were outraged over the man's death as both felt that neither option the man had before him required his death. But it was in that moment when both sisters agreed that they made the bet that would change the future of our world. No direct influence over mortals. Kami would reward those who were truly selfless, the reward of heaven, while Yami would punish those who were truly selfish with hell. But the problem was that neither sister could actually touch the mortal world by their own agreement, so they sent those who followed the primarily their daughters. Kami daughter as Gabriel and Yami daughter as Shinigami. According to Choji, Shinigami a woman. Naruto laughed and replied, "Yeah, she wears that mask to put the fear in souls who are evil to stop them from thinking she's weak and can attack her when she comes for their souls. She's actually very beautiful under that mask." Shikamaru replied, "Your mother, the woman who took care of you and saved you, she's the Shinigami, isn't she?" Naruto replied, "Yeep, took you 3 seconds longer than I thought it would." Choji said, "Wait, what are you talking about?" after glancing back and forth. Shikamaru responded, "Think about everything you saw and heard. He was left at the feet of the Kyuubi and the man who was controlling Kyuubi. Everyone in their right mind would have been running away from the Kyuubi, not standing there and watching everything that was happening. The only person who could have stood there was someone who doesn't have a fear of Kyuubi, which was the Shinigami. The way he talks about the prison and how he knows about the creation of hell and heaven, as well as the girl with wings, she's an angel sent by Kami to watch him. Kitsune, she's the Kyuubi, isn't she?" Still leaning back with his arms behind his head, Naruto replied, "Yeep. Troublesome, why did you tell us this?" Shikamaru scowled. Naruto turned to him and said, "I lived in hell since the moment Shinigami saved me. I was happy there with my mother, grandmother Yami, and my friends. But then Yami came because she had this big plan for me since before I was ever born. She had this plan where I was supposed to be this huge savior for the world and would decide the fate of the Biju. The man in the mask, his name is Madara Uchiha. He's got some plan I don't know about. Beside it involves turning the Biju into his ultimate weapon. Either I will stop him and save the world or die and he will destroy the world. That was Kami's goal for me. She came into hell after finding out I wasn't in the mortal world or heaven and demanded I come back. Mother and Yami refused and Kami attacked my mother and sent her to limbo, forcing Grandma Yami to send me to this world before she would release Mother. She also said she was sending one of her angels to make sure Mom didn't come and take me back to hell. Which is why you are so hostile toward I?" Shikamaru asked. Naruto replied, "Yeah, Kami acts like I am her puppet to jump through her hoops. She's wrong. All life has the choice of free will. I can walk Kami path or create my own, which I am doing. I'll eventually get to Madara and take care of the Biju, but I will do it my way." According to Shikamaru, "You still haven't told us why you are telling us this." Naruto sighed and replied, "Because I can't let Kami win the bet. Her and Yami made. Kami believes that when Madara begins his plan, mortals will begin to sacrifice everything for their friends and family, thus gaining her a lot of souls which she needs to win the bet." As Choji put it, "What is the bet exactly?" Naruto stated, "Mortality. All I do know is that it involves a soul, the soul of the fisherman. One who should have been blessed and one who should have been avenged, and yet neither was done. Both Yami and Kami are waiting on his soul to be reborn. Both sisters then will display to him what both have done in his honor. Kami showing all she has blessed for being noble and honor like he was, and Yami will show all she has punished like the people who attacked and killed the man should have been. He will then choose which sister he believes should rule the world." "You still haven't said why you are telling us this," Shikamaru remarked. Naruto stated, "As part of my free will I decided to take souls that would go to Kami when they die away by making them just a little less noble and honorable, so they will be reborn. I've already done that to 60 souls currently. Tomorrow, when you go to the academy, some of your classmates will most likely drop out, seeing being a ninja isn't so honorable or fantasy like they heard stories about. I've also freed a woman from a curse she had placed on her, which caused her to follow the rules of others and suffer because of her following the orders of her sensei when she was a genin, and I told her she should enjoy life because it is too short to live now that she's free of the curse, so she doesn't have to constantly be tortured as she was. Shoji pulled out a second bag of chips and stated, I also saw another person in the village I plan to help free from a burden. In fact, right now a cage bunshin of me is talking with her for years. She has sacrificed her time, her life, her friends, her love, her respect, her dignity, and so much more. That woman is your mother, Yoshina. Shikamaru got up, glaring, and asked, what did you do to my mom? After Choji dropped the bag. Naruto replied, just talk, tell me, what do you see when you look at your mom? According to Shikamaru, my mother. Naruto smiled and said, yeah, I should have seen that answer coming. Children always look at our parents in tinted glasses. Your mom life revolves around being a housewife. She cooks meals that are usually ate by herself, she cleans the house up after you and your father, she does your cloths, she shops for your food and weapons, she sacrifices her life so she can sit at home alone waiting on you to come in and tell her she's troublesome, and for your dad to come home either drunk or frustrated about the council, and then she gets the food she put in the oven for him and takes his cloths and washes them. She does everything for you and your dad, but when was the last time she actually got a true thank you? A true I love you? Your parents sleep in separate beds. She sleeps alone and lives in a house alone, and she is always alone. She doesn't have friends, she doesn't go shopping for herself unless she absolutely has to. She never has a chance to cry on a shoulder or tell her problems or worries too. She sacrifices her life for you and your father and will be blessed by Kami for it. But why should she go to heaven and be alone when the husband and son she sacrificed her mortal life for are either going to be reborn or go to hell, depending on what kind of life you lived? My cage bun Shin had a talk with her, reminding her of who she used to be, what life was like to have friends, to go shopping or to the hot springs to relax, to have her hair done, to buy her a dress just because she thought it was nice, not because she needed it. To go to a bar and have a drink or go to a tea house and chat with other women about life, not sit at home and be the perfect housewife or the troublesome mother. I'm a cage bun Shin. Also, I found out this is where you came to Cloudwatch so I could talk to you. You have a chance to change things. You have free will. Do what you think you should. As he went up in smoke. With his eyes darting back and forth, Shikamaru scowled, and Shoji said uneasily, Shikamaru. Shikamaru responded, troublesome. I don't know if I should kill him or thank him. Both boys turned when a female voice said, do both? Kitsune was standing there, and they both went pale. Kitsune replied, relax, I'm not as evil as you think I am. According to Shikamaru, and why should I believe you? Kitsune sighed and said, the Biju, we were sent here by Yami to tempt mortals with power. Our power mortals would want our power as a weapon, but they couldn't handle our power unless we were placed in them while they were children. The children would then be influenced by those around them. Those who wanted our power would have their souls sent to hell, while those who had us sealed in them would be sent to heaven when they died, since they suffered so much. While mortals would absorb some of our power while we were sealed in them, we would absorb their sins. The sins those who were around us influenced. Did you know I was actually sealed here in Konoha since the village was founded? I was first sealed in Mito Uzumaki Senju, wife of the Shodem Hokage. I was used by Madara to attack Hashirama, and she sealed me inside herself to save him, which is how he became the Shodem Hokage. Later I was sealed in Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto birth mother, until the day Madara returned and used his Sharingan on me. When a Biju is released on the death of the Jinchuriki, unless we are immediately resealed, we turn on those who caused our Jinchuriki the pain and suffering they had. Every village that a Biju attack had it coming for their original sins, thus someone would see our power and crave it, and the cycle would repeat until Kami champion would come and decide our fate. But because of free will, Kami had no way of controlling the future as she planned. There's an old saying, the best laid plans of men and gods. Why are you here now? Asked Choji. Kitsune stated, Bekwase Kami wanted me sent back with Naruto. She wanted me sealed inside of him so he would live in pain and suffering. Not going to happen. Shinigami made me his godmother because I was inside his mom when he was conceived. Those whiskers on him show some part of me is a part of him. I'm here now to watch him and help him and make sure he doesn't die, and if he is killed, well, the person who killed him better pray they go to heaven. If that person goes to hell, well, you get the idea. Both boys were overcome with emotion. Anyways, You want to know what Sarutobi offered his soul for Konoha. Naruto gives Konoha a chance to earn his respect, and if it doesn't then Sarutobi's soul will go to hell when he dies. If it does then Naruto will have Yami request his soul be sent to heaven. According to Shikamaru, I see, what are your plans? Kitsune replied, depends, either of you got plans for the night? I'm a horny teenage girl who wants to make a sandwich with me in the middle stuffed full of meat. When both boys blew backwards with nosebleeds, Kitsune smirked and turned to go, saying, I'll get them when they're older. Naruto sighed as he retrieved the memories from both of his clones atop the Hokage monument, thinking, I like the sky, too bad Kami a gray cloud ruining it. The thought crossed my mind, where is he? I want to talk. That evening, Shikamaru arrived home to find his mother seated at the table, staring down. Her hair was styled differently, she wore a brand new dress, and she even applied makeup. Shikamaru scowled once more as he watched Yoshina look up when the door opened and then look down again when he was there. He recalled Naruto's remarks and thought, troublesome. You look nice. Mom, is dad home? He asked. Thank you, son, and no, your father's not home. I guess he must be out with Shuza and Inoichi again, Yoshina said, grinning slightly as she looked up. Mom, how about you and I have a mother-son night together? I know it's difficult, but we haven't had a chance to do something just the two of us in a while. Would you like that? Shikamaru said, biting his lip and taking a whiff of the air. Yes, I would like that very much, Shikamaru, Yoshina said with a smile. Shikamaru replied, all right, Mom, let me go change and wash up and then we can go into town. I love you, Mom. Yoshina replied, and I love you also, Shikamaru. You better hurry, it's not a good idea to keep a lady waiting, son. Mom, I'm sorry, I hadn't noticed. Thank you, Naruto. You may be troublesome, but you're all right, Shikamaru said as he nodded and left the room, but not before hearing muffled sniffs coming from the table area. Shikamaru returned to the room where his mother was after getting cleaned and dressed, saying, you ready, Mom? You know, I think this is the first time we've gone out like this since you were 5, Yoshina said, grinning as she nodded. Shikamaru said, I promise you, Mom, I'll make sure we do this more often now. Come on, we don't want to be late, with a hint of regret after hearing this. Yoshina asked, late for what, son? As she shut off all of the lights in the house save the porch light, shut the door, and stood there for a while thinking about a few different things. When Shikamaru noticed this in the front yard behind her, her regret only deepened, and she thought, this is the first time I can ever remember where nobody's going to be here. Troublesome. Kitsune emerged from the woods not far ahead of Shikamaru and Yoshina. As they were making their way to the village, Kitsune started to look around, and Yoshina, who did not recognize her, said, hello, can I help you, miss? Shikamaru said, oh, excuse me, my name is Kitsune and I'm new to Konoha and I've seemed to have gotten lost. Hi Shika, how are you? After Kitsune turned to face Yoshina. Turning to Shikamaru, Yoshina remarked, you know her son? Kitsune replied, yes miss, I joined the academy today in his class. Are you his mother? According to Yoshina, yes, my name is Yoshina Nara. Kitsune gave a slight bow and said, it's an honor to meet you. Your mother is beautiful, Shika. I can see why you're so cute. I bet girls fall for you all the time and ask you out for lunch for sandwiches or something. Yoshina thought, my Shikamaru, I didn't know you had a crush. Shikamaru thought, troublesome vixen. Yoshina noticed Shikamaru blushing. It was Yoshina who said, you said you were lost, Kitsune. Kitsune replied, yes, I only arrived yesterday and got a place to stay, but I hadn't had much of a chance to look around town. I had walked into the woods because I like nature and got turned around. You wouldn't mind pointing me in the direction of town, would you, Shika? Shika gestured toward the town and said, that way, you troublesome vixen. As she turned to leave, Kitsune said, thank you, it was nice meeting you, Nara-sama, and nice seeing you as well, Shika-kun. Yoshina then said, wait? Shikamaru and Kitsune turned to face her, and Shikamaru thought, no, she wouldn't. Kitsune appeared perplexed and replied, oh, I'm sorry, is there some form of procedure here in your village or country before someone is allowed to be dismissed? If there is, I'm sorry for breaking tradition. Yoshina replied, no, nothing like that. I was going to ask you if you would like to join me and my son for an evening together. Kitsune stated, I wouldn't want to be a burden. I can't really afford to do much either until I can find some work or something to help support myself. Shikamaru replied, isn't Naruto, the Sandaime, or his family supporting you? I mean, I thought the way you all talked you wouldn't have a problem supporting yourself. Kitsune replied, I'm probably the last of my clan, Shika. Naruto and I told the entire class how I'm originally from the land of water and that they have a bloodline civil war going on there who hunted down those who were different like me. If Naruto had not saved me from them, then I would be locked away somewhere in the afterlife. I don't have any money myself, and Naruto just has the money on a couple of bounties he collected on our way here. The Sandane was kind enough to let us have an apartment since it's the least he owes Naruto, but other than that we have to provide for ourselves. Naruto family is all in the afterlife now, and all he has of his home is what he has with him. Yoshina replied, "Oh, you poor dear, you must have had a truly difficult life." "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," Kitsune said, adding, "But I'm resourceful and there are plenty of things growing in the woods that can be used for food, so I won't go hungry, and I have a place to stay in Naruto, and I do have a little money right now, and between him and I we can get everything that we need as long as we are cautious with our spending. But enough about that, I've spent enough of your time, so I should be going." As she turned back, Yoshina turned to Shikamaru and whispered in his ear, causing him to pale. Yoshina glared at him, and Shikamaru muttered, "Troublesome," before saying, "Wait, Kitsune, would you care to join us?" "Are you asking me on a date, Shika?" Kitsune inquired. When Shikamaru saw his mother's expression, he replied, "Yes." Kitsune replied, Are you sure? I mean, you and your mom were going somewhere, I mean." Yoshina replied, "We are actually going to meet my lazy-ass husband. We can make it a double date and my son here will pay for yours and his date, so don't worry about it." Shikamaru went pale when he saw Kitsune wink at him. "Well, as long as you're sure, I mean, I wouldn't want to be too troublesome," Kitsune said. As she started to move forward, Kitsune put her arm around Shikamaru, who muttered, "Troublesome vixen." Yoshina grinned at the expression on Shikamaru's face and remarked, "I got the feeling you just the thing to get my lazy son here motivated, so come along and let's go meet that lazy-ass husband of mine." In a seductive tone, Kitsune leaned over and whispered in his ear, "Be good to me and I'll be good to you, Shika-kun." Hearing this, Shikamaru straightened up as they made their way into the village. After leading them to a bar that she knew Shikaku frequented, Yoshina huffed to herself, walked in, and tapped Shikaku on the shoulder. Shikaku turned, staring at Yoshina, who was standing there with her hands on her hips, and said, "Come with me." When Shikaku noticed her attire, he inquired, "What's going on?" Yoshina replied, "We are having a double date. Shikamaru and his date are outside and you are coming with me." "A troublesome woman," Shikaku uttered after becoming enraged at this. Yoshina walked to the center of the bar and yelled, "Anyone in here interested in being my date for the night?" Before adding, "Fine, you don't want to go, then stay here and drink." After spitting out his drink, Shikaku turned to see Yoshina in a sexy pose, her breasts appearing slightly larger as she protruded her chest while holding one hand on her thigh and the other behind her head. As a couple of the men in the bar began to get up, unsure of who she was, Shikaku hurried to his feet and exclaimed, "What are you doing? You're my wife." Yoshina glared at him and said, "Am I?" Shikaku responded, "What has come over you, Yoshina? Of course you are." When Kitsune grabbed Shikamaru outside the bar, he said, "Stop, your mother has the right to vent her frustration. This isn't your fight, this is something your parents will have to deal with alone." According to Shikamaru, "Let me go," as she began to rub the front of his pants with her hand while creating an illusion over the ally. Kitsune swiftly dragged him into an ally, pushed him against the wall, and kissed him, shocking him. Inside the bar, Yoshina said, "You want to know what came over me? I'll tell you what has came over me. For 15 years I have been your wife. I have cooked for you, cleaned for you, washed your cloths for you, made sure you had everything packed for your missions, made sure that you had home-cooked food sealed in storage scrolls so you wouldn't have to eat rations, went to the store and got whatever you needed so you would have time to relax. I gave you a son. I made sure when you got home, no matter what time of the day or night, that I was there with a warm meal to listen to any complaints or problems you had, ran your baths, rubs your sore muscles, catered to your friends, gave up everything I could to please you and make you happy. And for what? To sleep at night in a separate bed. To eat alone as you go out night after night drinking with your friends. How many times did you even change diapers on Shikamaru? I have done everything in my life I could for you, and I don't even get a thank you or an I love you. All I am is a troublesome woman to you. I finally had enough of this, Shikaku. I went to town today and got my hair done to look nice and got this dress so that when you came home tonight that you and I could have time together like we did when we were younger. I was going to ask Shikamaru to stay at Shuza place tonight with Choji so when we got home we could push the beds together and make love like we used to when you actually loved me. But I see now that was all a dream, that I'm nothing more than a troublesome woman. You rather spend time with your friends and teammates than me. Well, you can stay with them, sleep with them tonight. Tomorrow you can come by after 10 a.m. and get your shit and get out. I'll raise Shikamaru the rest of the way since I've done it all up till now anyways, you good for nothing lazy bastard. Goodbye." As she turned and started to leave. When Yoshina turned and slapped him across the face, stopping him in his tracks, Shikaku, who was as shocked as everyone else in the bar, hurried to grab her arm to stop her. She then said, don't touch me, you've had years to do it and you left me cold and alone, you've lost that right, before turning to leave the bar. Shikaku busy right now, so we are going to have to cancel our date, but I insist that you both continue your own, Yoshina said. Here, use this, son, and both of you have fun, and son, treat her right and never let her forget how special she is. As she handed him some cash, she started to leave after noticing Shikamaru sitting on a bench outside the bar with Kitsune resting her head on his shoulder. When she left, Shikamaru and Kitsune got up and started to leave, walking until they reached a hill outside the village. Then the shadow that had bound them both separated, and Shikamaru grunted as he collapsed to his knees, exhausted, and uttered, "You, what the hell did you do to me?" Kitsune grinned and remarked, "It's called a blowjob." "That's not what I meant and you know it," Shikamaru said, giving her a fierce look. Kitsune responded, "And here I thought I did a pretty good job helping you relax earlier." "Fine, I'll tell you, I'm a Kitsune. We are known as trickster, and our abilities with genjutsu, ever wonder why? It's because we are masters of seduction. As such, we have naturally adapted over the years and gained special abilities. It was because of my special ability that I gained that I became a Kyuubi. I informed you earlier about the fact that the Biju absorb the sins of those we were sealed in. Now think about this. How does a person get more chakra?" According to Shikamaru, by using chakra. Kitsune replied, "And if Jinchuriki are always absorbing chakra from us while we are sealed in them?" After giving it some thought, Shikamaru's eyes widened and he uttered the words, "You will eventually be stronger than you were before you were sealed." Kitsune replied, "Yes, but you see, Yami wanted those of us that were sent here to be Biju to be able to get the most souls in the shortest amount of time, so she looked for those of us who would have an ability that would speed up the time between Jinchuriki." The Ichibi host can't sleep and becomes mentally unstable until he or she has to be put down and a new host has to be selected. Nibi hosts naturally have less endurance because they don't have much motivation. I see you're starting to get the idea. Me, the longer I am in contact with someone, the more of their abilities I can make mine. I have your DNA inside of me now since I swallowed, so it's directly in contact with me. Kitsune looked at Shikamaru. "I see you understand now, but the benefit won't last long. If I touch you for 10 minutes, then I have half that time to use your powers. Your sperm will be out of my system by Wednesday, so by Friday I won't be able to use your abilities again, unless of course you're willing to volunteer for some more fun." According to Shikamaru, "I didn't volunteer the first time." Kitsune responded, "True, but both Naruto-kun and I knew what was going to happen. We also knew that you would try to get involved and you would have been placed in a spot where both your parents would have wanted you to choose one over the other. Something that you wouldn't and Kulanda do. Because of this I told Naruto that I would come and keep you out of it. Besides, this isn't a fight that you can do anything about. Your mom has been holding this in all her life and finally releasing it, and your dad needed this wake-up call. If he really loves your mom, then he will do whatever it takes to show her. If not, should your mom suffer because your dad would rather drink and hang out with his teammates than the woman who he claims to love and gave him a son. Where does Naruto win at this? I mean, besides taking a soul from Kami, why get involved in my family's life?" Shikamaru grunted after giving it some thought. Kitsune replied, "Ever hear the old saying, monkey see, monkey do?" He paused for a moment and then stated, "He's using my parents to cause others to look at their relationship. Women will be inspired by my mother into standing up for themselves, and men will actually have to start looking at the women in their lives or lose them, and if they have been unfaithful, then," Kitsune stated, "then their sins will be revealed, which will then destroy their relationships, so the faithful ones will cheat since they have been cheated on, and society is brought down from status of nobility to third-rate romances. And the best part is Naruto doesn't have to do shit other than comfort one woman who, if she had been treated right, would never have become what she is." "Why did you tell me all this? Why did Naruto tell me all he did?" Shikamaru scowled. Kitsune replied, "Have you ever played Go with only one player?" After giving it some thought and lowering his gaze, Shikamaru's eyes widened once more before narrowing and widening once more before narrowing and widening a third time before he said, "But why me?" "He looked into your eyes and judged your soul. He saw something that impressed him. What it is, I can't say since I don't know," Kitsune said with a sly smile as she put her arms around Shikamaru. With a sigh, Shikamaru asked, "And where do you fit in?" Kitsune continued, "I saw something in you that impressed me also. I noticed the trickster side of you, the one who is tricking everyone into think you're a lazy idiot when you're smarter than you let on. Life's not worth living if you don't experience, and I wish to experience life and new things, and I think you could help me with that. I'm going to manipulate you life around my finger like I did with your mom earlier. I just had to make you remember my comment about being a sandwich and you blushed, which made your mom think you liked me, so she would invite me to go with you so that way I could be in position to stop you from getting involved. I'm going to do things like that for the rest of the time I'm here or until you die. What do you think about that, boyfriend?" After glancing at her, Shikamaru remarked, "Troublesome woman. Damn it, she's serious." Kitsune replied, "Ah, but you will come to love me. After all, I was given a mortal body to come back to life, and it's a virgin so. As he thought about what she was talking about and what had happened earlier, Shikamaru blew back with a nosebleed. After a moment of laughter, Kitsune paused, took a whiff of the air, and started to look around. That was strange, that smelled almost like, Kitsune thought. Gabriel, what are you doing here? She thought as her eyes widened. As Kitsune landed on the ground beside Naruto, he said, Kid, I think we got a problem. Naruto was still lying on the Hokage monument, gazing up at the night sky. What kind of problem? Said Naruto, scowling. Kitsune replied, I smelled someone earlier when I was playing with Shikamaru. It's Gabriel. Seated on his elbows, Naruto blinked and uttered, as is Gabriel, Gabriel bitch's daughter Gabriel. What the fuck she's doing here? Kitsune nods, and Naruto scowls. No one has died in the village today or tonight, especially the noble ones. Kitsune replied, I don't know, think she came here to give orders to the little angel. Naruto clenched his teeth and said, maybe I need to go bust her ass some more, so I'll go check on her and see what's up there. You head around the village and see if you can't track her scent and see where she is, since I don't know her scent besides a noble soul dying, which hasn't happened in me. I can't think of any reason she would be here. Sticking by the girl will make it easier for her to track me if she came looking for me, so we can find out what the hell she wants. Kitsune jumped away and said, right. After getting up and dusting off his trousers, Naruto made his way to the apartments. Naruto arrived at room 316 and was about to knock when he heard a crash and a muffled scream of pain coming through the door. He scowled before his eyes went black, and when he turned to face the door, he saw a taller figure standing in the center of the room, a smaller figure slumped against the wall, and a female figure standing in the center of the room, drawing back her fist. Naruto scowled and slipped out of sight. I was slumped against the wall in the apartment, with a busted lip, a busted nose, and bruises around her cheek and eyes. She saw a woman with long brown hair wearing a white dress punch her, but just before the punch hit, a hand appeared around her wrist, startling both I and the woman. The woman turned and saw a blonde woman wearing a black outfit, who was looking out the window away from her. When I saw the individual, she also thought, Naruto. Who are you and how dare you interfere in my business? The woman asked. Without turning to face the woman or I, Naruto remarked, such an unrefined and undisciplined woman to ignore proper decorum and demand a name without giving yours first. Leave me, heathen, or I'll smite you, the woman said. After she snorted, Naruto turned his head and said, heathen smite you must be Gabriel, correct? His eyes were black. Gabriel replied, you must be the boy Kami has been speaking about. If you know who I am now, release me, because you know you are far weaker than me. Smirking, Naruto tightened his grip on Gabriel's wrist. A snap sound sounded, and Gabriel cried out as he jerked his arm up, lifting him off the ground. Naruto then released his grip and kicked Gabriel in the stomach, sending her flying back into the wall several feet away. Naruto replied, I know now why you're in heaven. It's because you're so stupid, because your head is full of hot air. The fact I caught you off guard when I grabbed your wrist should have alerted you that something was wrong. How dare why? She exclaimed as Gabriel pressed her broken wrist against her stomach. She was silenced as Naruto vanished, and then she was slammed against the wall while Naruto choked her with one hand while holding her by the neck. It's not so fun being on the receiving end of a beatdown, is it, Gabriel? Naruto said, squeezing harder. In case you haven't realized it yet, you're not in mortal form right now, you're in spirit form, and I am still able to hurt you if I decide to kill you. Game over. You die now. Why are you here, bitch? Gabriel gasped for air as her face started to change color. Behind Naruto a frail voice said, please stop, she's my mother. When Naruto heard Ai's voice, his eyes widened for a moment. He then turned to face Ai, who had her head bowed, and he asked, is this true? While releasing a small amount of Gabriel's neck. Gabriel, who was struggling to breathe, said, that weakling is nothing but a disgrace. I was forced to give birth to. She is no daughter of mine. Kami ordered me to have her to be a reward for you as part of her grand plan. I only have one child, and that is Michael. What you are feeling, bitch, is fire chakra, which is burning your voice box. Since you want to act like a bitch, now you will speak like a bitch for the rest of your days. Now go before I decide to kill you. Naruto scowled as he looked at Ai, who was looking down, and then back at Gabriel. He then sent chakra into his hand around Gabriel's neck, causing her to gurgle because she was unable to scream. I would take the kid's advice before he kills you, Kitsune said, sitting close by as Gabriel landed on the street below. Shinigami trained him to be her equal, and in most ways he is in soul attacks he surpassed her. According to Gabriel, this isn't over. With a glance to her right, Kitsune remarked, for now it is. Before Kitsune vanished, Gabriel followed her gaze and widened his eyes. Before being dragged into the ground by a skeletal hand, the figure Kitsune and Gabriel saw mouthed the words, thank you. I was sitting in a chair when Kitsune got up and entered apartment 319. Naruto entered from the kitchen carrying an ice pack and said, "So are you going to tell us what that was about? You owe me your life." I, who had looked down holding the ice pack, was silent for a few moments when she said in a dead tone, "You have probably asked if Cammy had such grand plans for you, then why wasn't she there to make sure everything went according to plan? The reason is she knew the life you would live and knew being a Jinchuriki that you would automatically get a free pass to heaven. She decided before you were born that you would have in death the one thing you most likely never would have in life. Love to do this, she ordered her daughter Gabriel to have a female child. Me, when Cammy received words that your parents had arrived in heaven, she had my mother begin having me. I was supposed to be linked to you so that when you slept I could be in your dreams. At first as a friend when no one else would have been, and then later after you died, your wife. But when mother came to the mortal world to bind my spirit to yours, she couldn't find you. Cammy began to search for you and left me with mother. Mother hated me because she didn't want me, and as time passed on and the longer time went, the more her hatred of me and the reminder of the pain she had to go through to have me and all she sacrificed to do so made her even more angry at me." While scowling, Naruto remarked, "So her beating on you is common?" I replied, "Usually she acts like I don't even exist." Kitsune inquired, "Then why did she come and attack you tonight?" When I bit her lip, Naruto responded, "Answer." I gasped and said, "I overheard mother when she came back from meeting Cammy. Mother was telling Michael, my brother, to do something about you, but when I heard your name I had to come find you. I spent my whole life thinking about you and thinking if I could meet you then I could become your friend and later your wife, so that way the reason I was born would be fulfilled and mother wouldn't hate me anymore." As she wept and said, "But she doesn't care. She told me I wasn't going to get happiness when she lost her own. She told me that she didn't care what Cammy planned anymore and that she was going to send me to limbo so she wouldn't have to see my face again since I gave up my immortality to come here and be with you." "So you're not here to keep my mother away from me?" said Naruto with a frown. I wept as she said, "No, why would I do that after I saw how angry and sad you were over that? If I could I would let you see her whenever you wanted to. Is that why you don't like me? Because you thought that I was sent here to keep you from your mother?" Cammy told Yami she was sending one of her angels to make sure mom didn't show up and take me back to hell before I died. Naruto sighed, leaning against the wall. "Since you were the only angel we detected, then I assumed it was you," Naruto said. "You had the right to. You're the victim. You've had everything taken from you," I said, casting a downward glance. With his arms crossed, Naruto shook his head and said, "No, I'm a vindictive son of a bitch. I'm also one of the most respected people in hell because I changed it. I grew up witnessing people being tied to chains that were attached to poles that would lower them into fire fields and burn them before they were raised back up to heal, and then once they had healed some, they were sent back down into the fires. I remember what it was like to be burned alive, screaming and pleading with my grandmother to change their punishment. Initially, she refused, but made a deal with me, having me listen to a prisoner who was brought in and told about his transgressions before letting me choose his punishment. He was a rapist. After considering his crimes, I concluded that the best way to punish him would be to make him experience the same emotions as his victims. To that end, I had a few goblins take him to a room and use tools to inflict on him the same punishment that he had inflicted on his victims. Every single thing he ever did to a victim was done to him in a single day, and then he would be left alone in a dark room until the next day, when it was repeated again and again and again. Those hours in the dark made him live the life of his victims, constantly looking around in fear, waiting for the torture to start. Grandma Yami saw this and gradually had those who were already there for the same crimes taken to the room one by one, and as the so-called Tower of Torture was constructed, the inmates would be randomly selected to undergo all the tortures, and not just the rapist, but also those who took pleasure in physically harming others, and then placed in a cell without light, constantly fearing that someone would come and torture them repeatedly. I responded, "But why are you respected for that?" Kitsune replied, "Because not everyone in hell is evil. There are races living in hell that once lived in the mortal realm who are not evil, but humans thought they were evil because they weren't human. Kitsunes like me are among those races: goblins, trolls, ogres, dragons, and others who live there and serve Yami in exchange for living there. They saw the changes that Naruto made and they respected him because hell isn't all fire and brimstone anymore. True, there are some places, but for those of us who live there who aren't prisoners, life has changed for the better. The pit of emo, the tower of torture, the pit of endurance, the house of lies, all." She was interrupted when I said, "The house of lies, what's that?" Naruto laughed and continued, "I got the idea from a couple of hobbits who were boasting about something at a bar. What happens is the prisoners go up on stage with a collar that forces them to tell lies, and they have to tell lies about one of the lies they're in hell for, and the audience has to try and guess what the real lie the guy on stage is lying about. They aren't allowed to leave the stage or quit talking until either someone guesses the real lie or they lose their voice, and they are not allowed to drink any water the whole time they're talking. There's an old saying, "Don't let your mouth write a check your ass can't cash." The house of lies is where those who did that while here are punished for it and have to pay their debt. The question was, and the pit of emo? Kitsune replied, "Oh, I love that place. The pit of emo is where those who pity themselves, usually those who wind up killing themselves, are sent. They're all put in the pit where they try to get other emo to try and feel guilty for them after having their hair dyed black and their nails painted purple. There is no real reason to torture them because they torture themselves." Naruto said, "But you know what? People who go to hell aren't usually sent there for just one sin. One sin leads to another, which leads to another. Take this one guy who was being punished when Kami showed up. He was there for murder and rape, but he didn't start killing and raping until he spent years torturing himself and attempting suicide because he thought he had nothing left to live for later in life. He still felt he had nothing left, so he decided he might as well have some fun and raped a woman. After he did that, he punished himself again, thinking he had nothing left to live for, because he would lose what he had if people found out about his crimes. Yami sent him to the pit of emo to have his hair and nails done. Then he is going to feel guilty for himself the next day since he used power to capture the women and hurt them. He is taken to the pit of endurance where him and all the other prisoners who were sent there for using power to hurt others and be beat on by each other trying to win the prize of an all-you-can-eat meal, an hour in a hot spring and a night in a hotel bed. After the guy lost in the pit of endurance, he was taken to the Tower of Terror and tortured like he did to the women and locked up in a cell until he recovers and then put back in the pit of emo where nobody will pity him because they are too busy pitying themselves before he gets sent back to the pit of endurance and then back to the Tower of Terror again. He will eventually realize the only chance he has to break the cycle is to win at the pit of endurance, but since he goes so long between times he's there, then he won't ever actually get stronger even though he will try to train himself while in the darkness. But once he loses again in the pit of endurance and taken to the Tower of Terror in his weakened state and can't fight back, he pity himself even more for being so weak. With wide eyes, Ai uttered, "And you came up with this?" As Naruto nods, Ai exclaims, "Wow, that's actually pretty brilliant." Naruto replied, "Yeah, it was my plan to do something like that to you also. I mean, when I thought that you were the one sent here to keep my mom away, I was going to make your life hell until you either broke down and let me have my mom in my life or gave up and left where I could have mom again." To quote Kitsune, "There is a method to his madness." With a frown, I asked, "So what now? Are you still going to keep hating me?" Naruto took a breath and replied, "No, I have no reason to hate you now. Well, I do, because you're Kami granddaughter who only wanted me in her life to use me, and I am tempted to turn around and use you and leave you just to smite you. Hee. Angels need a bigger vocabulary heathen. Smite, hee. Are you going to use me and leave me?" asked I, casting a downward glance. Naruto glanced at her and replied, "No, I may be a cold, sadistic, vengeful son of a bitch, but I care too much for myself and fear too much what my mother and grandmother would do to me if I ever did that to a woman. They don't care if I fuck as long as it's with consent of both parties. I only fuck those I care about. I may feel guilty for what I did to you when you were innocent, and since I saw you had no food, money, cloths, or furniture, I'll even let you stay here as long as you don't cause me a reason to hate you, as well as you tell me about your brother Michael." I inquired, "Why do you want to know about Michael?" Naruto stated, "Your mom talked about me to him cause she wanted me to do something Kami told her about me. Gabriel sending Michael here to keep my mom away to make Kami happy. She will also probably use him to try and get revenge on you and me for what I did back there. Never say you're sorry, never look down. Both are a sign of weakness that others will use against you," Naruto said as he lifted Ai's head and placed his hand beneath her chin. Naruto said, "What did I just tell you?" as he covered Ai's open mouth. Naruto said, "Well, it's late and you're tired from what happened and need to think straight to answer my question. You can tell me about Michael later. I'm going to get some sleep. You can have the couch." As he turned and walked away, I bit her lip and nodded. Kitsune approached I and said, "Angel, listen and listen well. The kid may be acting nice, but he doesn't like you. He needs you to learn about his enemy. You are going to be useful to him, or I'll make you useful in another way. He may not do anything to you, but I'll sell your ass for money as a slave if you don't pull your weight. Do I make myself clear?" I nods in fear at the expression in Kitsu's eyes, and Kitsune says, "Good night," before turning and shutting the door to the second bedroom, leaving a frightened and trembling I in her wake. The following morning, Ai opened her eyes slowly and blinked when she noticed Naruto standing above her, his hand glowing above her body, saying, "I see you awake, don't move, I'm almost done healing the bruises." "Why are you helping me?" Asked AI. Naruto continued, someone should only have to pay for their own sins, not the sins of others. If you went to the academy with these bruising on you, everyone would assume that I was the one who did this to you because of the way I acted toward you yesterday. Besides, a woman's beauty shouldn't be ruined by anything other than a lifetime of joy and happiness. As the light in his hand stopped and he got from his knees and headed towards the kitchen. Bathroom over there. Go get cleaned up. After that we will take you to get some cloths so you don't have to wash your cloths every day, and then get some breakfast for all three of us. Kitsune said she would meet us downstairs. With a nod, AI rose from the couch and made her way to the restroom. I emerged from the restroom after taking a brief shower, and Naruto said, coffee. I replied, no thank you. You drink coffee, aren't you a little young? His face lit up with laughter. My mother called me an unlimited ball of energy of apocalyptic proportions. Coffee actually tires me out, so I'm not bouncing off the walls. If I could burn off my energy with exercise or something, then I wouldn't need this, but if not, then I'll have a short fuse and get into trouble. This village isn't big enough to handle me when I have a short fuse. I inquired, why is that? Smirking, Naruto replied, remember my genjutsu I placed on you when the Anbu showed up? What I did in that genjutsu was nothing compared to me with a short fuse. I'm actually forbidden from entering the pit of endurance when I have a short fuse. Grandma Yami called my actions worse than anything else that could be done to them those few times I have entered there in the past with one so ready to go. I nods, and to her surprise, Naruto extends his arm. She blinks, and Naruto grins as he says, I'm a vengeful son of a bitch, but I am also a gentleman. As she hooked her arm with his, I blushed a little and said, thank you. They departed the apartment after Naruto opened the door. I noticed Kitsune and Shikamaru glaring at him when they reached the street, and Naruto greeted them with, morning. When Shikamaru noticed Naruto holding arms with I, he raised an eyebrow and remarked, it's the end of the world, isn't it? Naruto was sweating and Kitsune was saying, be nice. Shikakid here realized that I isn't who he thought she was, so he said he's sorry and he's making up for treating her wrong. Besides, the world's not supposed to end unless Kit lets Madara win, so where is the best places to go cloth shopping? Shika, and I need a couple of new outfits in. All four of the teenagers looked surprised when an Anbu suddenly appeared, and Shikamaru remarked, troublesome. The Anbu responded with, Naruto Namikaze, the council has requested your presence. With a pleading expression on her face, Kitsune said, fuck me, we're screwed. You might have been right the first time, Shika. It's the end of the world. Please tell me he had some coffee before you left the apartment. I, who was just as perplexed as Naruto, replied, yeah, he did. Why? Then there is a chance the world won't end today, Kitsune said, releasing a breath she had been holding. According to Naruto, I'm not that bad. Kitsune paused for a moment as a few thoughts came to her and she said, you're worse than any woman in the entire history of the world ever when they had their worst case of PMS. The last time anyone ever let you enter a council meeting, you wound up bending every one of them over your knee. Tattoo property of Naruto across both their ass cheeks with a red-hot poker. Used a senbon needle to connect both balls of every male in the room together. Bent every woman forward with a dildo super glued in their mouth and chained them where the dildo in their mouth was fucking their own asshole with nipple clips on their breast that sang, it's a small world after all. After glancing at her, Naruto remarked, your point. While everyone else was in shock, Kitsune slapped her forehead and said, please tell me you don't have that scroll with you. While grinning, Naruto remarked, Kitsune, I got all my scrolls and the things sealed inside of them. Kitsune sighed and said, Anbu, I know the council only requested his presences, but would you mind if Shika here escorted us and him to the council chamber? I may be new here, but since you called him by his birth name, you should realize the council will either try to suck up to him to gain favor with him or will try to boss him around. His family was in charge of a prison. He was basically head of security there. He doesn't take orders. He gives them. The only reason he is here and not with his adopted family is because some politician decided to be greedy and ordered the release of some people contained there. When his family refused to release the prisoners, Naruto's mother was arrested by the politician and they were forced to release the prisoners or his mother would have been taken from him permanently. You take him to this meeting and you're going to be without a few council members when the meeting is over unless you have someone who will calm him down there. I can't guarantee he will listen to me, but he might. Before the Anbu could respond, he heard something being unsealed. He turned and went pale when he saw that Naruto was holding a box of senbon needles in one hand and a 2-foot-long, 4-inch thick dildo in the other. The Anbu responded, I'll inform the council that you are on your way, but Namikaze-sama was in the shower and had to get dressed first. Nara-san, would you escort them to the council chambers? Shikamaru nodded after saying, troublesome. As the group started to move toward the council chambers, the Anbu shuffled away, and Shikamaru remarked, that wasn't true, was it? Naruto stated, Hell doesn't have a council. Each of the non-humans races that live there have one leader who comes before Yami if they need anything. I replied, thank Kami. You scared me a little, but why did you have those items, Naruto? Kitsune stated, those are used on council members who are sent to hell for causing others pain and suffering so they can live comfortably. The Hall of Council is a building where council members are sent. Naruto made it where every new council member that goes there think they actually still have some power to decide things even in death. The council members try to steal more power for themselves from the Grand Elder, who is the leader of the council. When one member actually is able to sneak some power for himself, he is automatically made into the new Grand Elder, while the old Grand Elder has the torture done to them as punishment for failing to stay in power before they are re-entered into the Hall of Council as a now powerless member who will try to steal power back for himself so he can make the person who forced him through that torture can pay. Of course, anytime a council member loses all their so-called power, they are put through the torture again. Naruto stated, we have 216 Grand Elder every day on average and about 200,000 council members every day who lost all their so-called power. Basically they screwed others over in life with the help of other council members. In hell they get screwed by other council members. Troublesome, you scare me, Naruto, you really do, Shikamaru said as the group reached the Hokage Tower, which housed the council chambers on the second floor. Sometimes, Shikamaru, I scare myself, Naruto remarked. Yeah, he freaks out when... Kitsune replied. At that moment, Naruto's stomach rumbled, causing him to jump uncontrollably. Kitsune then started laughing and remarked, oh, how ironic, the one thing you're most scared in is the monster you call a stomach. Shikamaru and Kitsune covered their mouths to contain their laughter. The cheeky Naruto replied, considering my stomach's big enough to hold you in your bigger form, there's no telling what kind of creature crawled up in there after you were freed. Kitsune replied, especially with the ladies you sleep with. Naruto looked at Kitsune and replied, that was a low blow, Kitsune. You know that the most I've ever done with any woman is given them a sensual massage. I never would go past that because just like I can't feel any pain, I also can't feel any pleasure of the flesh. Shikamaru replied, that's something that I wanted to ask. Can't your family just heal the damage you received? I thought that. Kitsune murmured, Shika, Kami and Yami are sisters. Their powers are split between them. Kami has the ability to heal the flesh while Yami has the ability to heal the spirit. That is why Kami made heaven a place to please the spirit and Kami made hell a place to torture the flesh. Kid could be healed, but to do so he would have to go to Kami and beg her to heal him, and he won't beg anyone or bow to anyone unless he is in the wrong, and it is Kami who is wrong about this because she has forgotten what is most important. Shikamaru was looking perplexed as Naruto replied, the only way to get into heaven is to suffer through hardships while alive as a mortal. The only way to get sent to hell is to take pleasure of the spirit out of the suffering of others. Kami has the ability to heal those who have suffered in the flesh while Yami has the ability to heal those who have suffered in the spirit, but Kami has gotten so wrapped up in the bet that was made and cares and has forgotten that every soul is important. The needs of the many do not outweigh the needs of the few. Every soul is just as valuable as the next. Shikamaru said, what happens to those who have suffered in both spirit and body and taken pleasure in the spirit and body? What happens to those? With a contemplative expression on his face. Naruto stopped in front of the door with the word chambers. He looked at Shikamaru and said, they are considered a neutral when they die and are eventually reborn again. All sins or suffering they experienced in their last life is healed and forgotten. Personally, I think that is actually the greatest gift that Yami or Kami could give someone. After all, wounds of the flesh heal over time and to much pleasure make one arrogant. Gabriel is a perfect example of that. Shikamaru noticed that I was looking down, and I, seeing the curious expression on his face, said, my mother. Naruto grabbed the door handle and opened it before anyone could speak. The heads of the 3 Konoha clans, the Hokage, the 2 elder advisors, the Anbu commander, the Junin, Chunin, and Genin representatives, the head of the academy, the head of the library, the hospital's director, the director of parks and recreation, the bank president, the 6 representatives of Konoha's 6 civilian sectors, the head of the merchant guild, and the 5 members of the Konoha business guilds comprised the council of Konoha. The conversation in the room ceased when Naruto opened the door and entered, followed by Kitsune, I, and Shikamaru. Hiruzen then spoke in a commanding tone. What is the meaning of this interruption? His voice then became much quieter when he saw Naruto. Then he said to the council, ask them. Some Anbu said to come here at the request of the council about 15 minutes ago, but I was busy taking a shower, so Shikamaru here agreed to guide us here. Hiruzen glanced at Kaharu and Hamaru, who, we requested the Yondaime's son to come before us so that we may welcome him back to Konoha and to learn about where he has been all these years and why he has not returned before now, as well as try to gather information from him around the events of his birth and to question his. She was interrupted by Naruto, who said, "Yeah, about that, I don't answer to you." "How dare you," said a member of the civilian council. When Naruto, who was more than 20 feet away from the choking man, raised his hand in the air as if choking something, the civilian council member who was speaking started to gasp for air. He then lowered his hand and said, "I find your lack of respect to me disturbing." At that moment, Naruto had frightened the majority of those present. Naruto responded, "I am only in this village due to a contract I have made with Hiruzen Sarutobi. I do not answer to anyone in this room, including Hiruzen. I warned you, if I am summoned for something it had better be important and directly to the point, or you will have 1 month penalty. You realize that because of these people in this room you now will have your soul taken from you by me an entire month early." With the exception of Kitsune and Hamaru, who turned to face Hiruzen and asked, "What is he talking about, Hiruzen?" Everyone in the room went wide-eyed at this point. Hiruzen looked at him and replied, "It's true, because I abandoned him while he was being burned alive at the feet of the Kyuubi and the man who murdered his parents in order to return to Konoha to prepare it for Kyuubi's attack. I feel I owe him, so I made a deal with him. If he would give Konoha a chance to prove it was worth saving, as his parents who were originally going to sacrifice him to a life as a Jinchuriki believed, and I believed enough to abandon him, then I would give him something he could actually use. The price, give Konoha a chance in exchange for my soul." When Ai's eyes widened, she thought, "He's not serious, is he?" Hiyashi responded, "Forgive me, Hokage-sama, but your soul, how can your soul be of use to him, and how can you so casually talk about giving something that can't be seen, touched or felt?" To everyone's surprise, a wooden throne room chair emerged from the floor, followed by 3 smaller ones, all on a platform that Naruto sat on, making him sit higher than the other people in the room. Naruto started to laugh as he lifted his foot and stomped the ground. Danzo's voice was shocked as he said, "Mokutan, how?" A number of people glared at Naruto when he said, "The stupidity of these lands brings me much humor. How can you use the bloodline of the Shodem Hokage, and how dare you threaten to take the Hokage's soul, you Yuda?" a civilian said in a demanding tone. Kitsune appeared behind him and put a claw finger to his neck, instantly silencing him. She then unleashed some ki and said, "You will watch what you say to His Highness, or I will make the next breath your last." With a neutral expression, Naruto said, "Enough, Kitsune." Gasping for air, Kitsune released the man who had been holding his neck. "Forgive me, Your Highness," Kitsune bowed. "Go back to your seat and keep quiet," Naruto said. You two, Hiruzen, you will choose 2 council members to speak for the council as a whole. The others will either keep quiet or I'll murder them. Since I put you and the entire Anbu squad, along with Ibiki, in a sure death position during our first encounter, you already know I can Danzo, and I will use all 3 of my boss summons to destroy this village. If you try to bring in any of your root members, I have also shown that I am capable of long-range killing, and those are the only skills I have chosen to display. Cerberus, the 3-headed hound of hell, Kyuubi no Kitsune, and Krite, the bone dragon. Everyone in the room went pale, and I opened her mouth to speak, but Naruto stopped her with a glare. With a beseeching tone, Hiruzen said, "Please don't destroy this village because of a few idiots. I'm sorry the council called you, and I accept full responsibility for their actions. I'll take any punishment you decide personally. Don't make the innocent pay for the guilty's misdeeds." In a startled tone, a civilian said, "Hokage-sama, why are you?" Then, to everyone's surprise, the ground in front of the civilian shattered, and Aoi Rokusho, who was made of wood, grabbed the council member by the neck. Naruto then uttered the words, "Last warning. Hiruzen's soul belongs to me, so he is not one of the 2 individuals he has chosen to speak with. Choose carefully." Hiruzen scowled and startled everyone, particularly the elders, by saying, "Shikaku and Danzo. Will the 2 chosen members please come down so we can get down to business?" Naruto nods as a wooden table appears in front of him, with 2 chairs facing him on the other side of the table. With a scowl, Danzo asked, "Why should I? I've heard that you always wanted to be Hokage and prove your worth after you chickened out when the Nidaime asked who would stay back to save the others," Naruto said, glancing at him. "This is your opportunity. You and Shikaku bear the responsibility for the destiny of your village. Hiruzen will pass away in a few months if Konoha doesn't live up to his expectations, and Konoha will require a new leader. This might be exactly what you need to demonstrate that you are a diplomatic leader in addition to a military one." "Don't insult me, Shikaku," Naruto said as Danzo stood up and walked to the table where Shikaku was already. Danzo pursed his lips. "You can't use your shadow jutsu on me. See for yourself." Shikamaru and Shikaku were shocked when the shadow Shikaku had sent toward Naruto beneath the table abruptly withdrew. Naruto said, "This is a diplomatic meeting, Nara. No harm will come to your son or anyone else here as long as this meeting is civil," after Shikaku made eye contact with Shikamaru. As Shikaku put it, "And how can I trust you?" Naruto was saying, How can you trust the man beside you or anyone else for that matter? It's either you choose to or choose not to, but either way you have to choose one. You have no other choice. Immediately becoming neutral, Danzo said, "You should mind your words, boy." Naruto replied, "And you should know not to insult someone who is stronger than you and has you trapped. Now be silent and I will tell you a little about myself, the Kyuubi, and why I would want Hiruzen's soul and why I am really here. This is my homeland, a forsaken land that is beyond any map in the elemental nations. This land was chosen to some as a sanctuary and to others as a prison. It is also the home of all the ancient races of our world," Naruto declared as his eyes turned black and everything in the room vanished, leaving everyone on a cliff overlooking a lava field. All of the animal species that are older than humans, elves, orcs, dragons, kitsunes, goblins, gremlins, zombies, and countless others have long since lost their true names or are unable to be expressed in human language, but most people just refer to them as Hell. Castle lore, home of the royal family of Hell, Naruto said as the scene shifted and a black castle emerged atop a mountain. The castle of my grandmother. My mother and grandmother, the day I was born, the day of the Kyuubi attack here in Konoha. My mother was in the elemental nations to capture someone who had escaped from Hell. After the Sandaime abandoned me while I was on fire, she was the one who captured the Kyuubi and she was the one who put out the fires and cut her own flesh from her body and put it on me while also giving me her blood and chakra in order to save my life," Naruto said as the scene changed once more and everyone saw a stunning woman sitting on a throne and another stunning woman standing next to the woman on the throne. My grandmother and the other ancient races accepted me as their son after she brought me along and reared me as her own child. In my land, what you call chakra is nothing more than the weak watered-down versions of something much more powerful, said Naruto as his eyes returned to normal and everyone reassembled in the council chambers. Anyone from my homeland can stop every elemental jutsu anyone in the elemental nations can do or reverse them back on the person who used them, Naruto said, turning to face Danzo. Knowledge of how to do that is as widespread in my homeland as the use of chakra. Shikaku questioned, "Do you have any proof? The demonstrations I have shown should be proof enough that you and your village should be concerned about, especially now that the people of Konoha know that I was born here and that word is undoubtedly spreading to neighboring villages and countries," Naruto stated. "In addition to the fact that I just used Mokuton to make this throne, to control your bloodline and was able to break it, I was able to make the air around that civilian so thick that breathing became impossible. Since the landowner of my apartment building has not fixed the number 9 on my door, and the person who attacked I had someone spy on me and found out that the number on my door was 316 because the 6 is actually a 9 upside down, but I lived in 316 and was attacked thinking she was with me. My enemies who brought me here in the first place could bring Kami's wrath on you just to punish me for being such a heathen in their eyes." In order to conceal her lips and prevent her reaction from being noticed, Kitsune covered her mouth. Danzo responded, "Is this true, girl? Were you attacked last night?" Danzo asked, "Who attacked you?" After I nodded. "Her name is Gabriel, my black-hearted second cousin," Naruto stated. "You heard Kitsune call me your highness? That's because I am the legitimate heir to Hell according to the majority of the civilized ancient race of Hell. Although my grandmother is the ruler of Hell, my great-aunt and I are sisters. I'm not welcome in Hell, according to Gabrielle and her mother. My mother was taken hostage by Gabrielle's mother. For that reason she threatened to destroy my mother if my grandmother didn't banish me from Hell. For as long as I lived on Earth, a war is imminent for years. My grandmother and her sister have been at each other's throats over control. I was exiled because, while I was in Hell, I was thwarting my great-aunt's schemes. Now, I'm here to strengthen myself and raise an army to combat her and her forces. I can't believe this. He's telling the truth and yet lying at the same time. How is that possible?" I thought, her mouth hanging open as she stared at Naruto in disbelief. "Since he is telling the truth, I am unable to even accuse him of lying." Inquiringly, Shikaku remarked, "So you originally came to Konoha looking for allies?" Naruto responded, "No, I came to Konoha in the first place to assist Ibiki in finding the Raijin that Aoi had stolen, promising him a bed for the night and a beer. I intended to depart after that and keep scouting the elemental nations for criminals to bolster my army or for individuals who could assist me in strengthening myself." Danzo questioned, "Why criminals? You see that man there? I enslaved his soul when I defeated him before I killed him," Naruto remarked, glancing toward Aoi's wooden body. "He has a wood body because I previously called his soul back and inserted it into the floor's wood. He will obey my commands until I release his soul when I no longer require it, even if I stick it in water, lightning, fire, ice, dirt, or even the air. Targeting criminals not only helps protect the innocent, but I can also defeat them and take their souls so they will fight for me." I can also win the support of people I protect, who can give me money, housing, supplies I need to live, or information about other targets I could pursue. A deal that would make Konoha richer and stronger in exchange for helping me was something I was considering, but that was before some loudmouth idiots started acting like they had power over me. I will fight my way back to hell and rejoin my mother and grandmother after putting an end to everything my great aunt and cousin throw at me because I am powerless over anyone. I will strike those pagan people. Why does he have to keep making fun of the way we talk? I thought, giving Naruto a fierce look. Shikaku inquired, what is this deal you are offering? Considering, not offering, Naruto uttered the conceit of those in this room has ruined all the positive sentiments I had begun to have about Konoha because of Choji, Shikamaru, Anko, and your beautiful wife Yashina. With a tone of surprise, Shikaku said, my wife. Yes, Kitsune told Naruto, your wife and son helped her get lost last night, and your wife was looking forward to a double date to welcome Kitsune to Konoha and spend some time together because Shikamaru will soon be graduating and going on missions, so family time will be a thing of the past, Naruto said. Kitsune also told me that Shikamaru was gracious enough to take Kitsune stargazing after he had a small snack and something to wash it down after he was unfortunate to have to back out due to important business with other clan heads. Shikamaru flushed, and Kitsune remarked, you're blushing, Shika-kun, saying, special, in a sensual way, recalling that special moment we shared last night. It was Naruto who said, Kitsune, behave. To get everyone to stop their irrational fantasies and thoughts, Danzo coughed and said, and how did Anko help improve things toward Konoha for you? Naruto explained, well, when I first got to Konoha when I was just planning on leaving right after I helped recover the Nidaim's sword, Ibiki was busy reporting to Hiruzen about the recovery, and I had met Anko at the dango stand and she was kind enough to buy me and Kitsune some dango. In exchange for that I destroyed that curse seal she had on her shoulder before I started to leave and was stopped by Anbu because Hiruzen wanted to speak to me about who he believed my parents were since he had acquired a sample of my blood which unlocked a scroll wrote by Minato. Danzo asked, how did you destroy the curse seal? As his eyes widened. Naruto sighed and replied, you know, when I said chakra was a watered down version of something else I meant it. Chakra is a combination of physical energy and spiritual energy. The only actual spiritual energy you have in your body is your soul. The strength of your soul is determined by your willpower. When you use your hand signs and jutsu to form an attack, you are forcing your soul to attack. That is why your attacks are so weak compared to those in hell. That is also why I said anyone in hell could counter your jutsu, because they can force your souls into the attack you created and overpower your soul in the attack and take control of it from you, because the people in hell have learned to coexist with their souls instead of fighting against them. Take Hitaki Kakashi as an example. What about Kakashi? Asked Shikaku. Naruto stated, he has a Sharingan eye that was transplanted but he can't use it as easy as a Uchiha could. The reason he can't is because a piece of the Uchiha's soul still exists in that eye, and when Kakashi is trying to use it he is fighting the soul in the eye. If he destroys the soul in the eye, the Sharingan will quit working. However, if he was taught how to merge his soul with the piece of the Uchiha soul still in that eyes, not only would he be able to use that Sharingan eye like a Uchiha, he would also have a small chance of one of his children possessing the Sharingan, depending on how much of the Uchiha soul there is in that eyes. Orochimaru has actually figured this out on his own from what I can tell. Astonished, Danzo asked, what do you mean? Naruto stated, the curse seal on Anko I destroyed had a small piece of Orochimaru's soul in it. Every time someone has those seals on them and uses them, Orochimaru's soul fragment merges with the soul of his victim and begins trying to take over the body. How can you be sure what Orochimaru's seal does? Asked Shikaku. Naruto replied, because I've fought a couple of Lich Kings before along with a couple of necromancers. Both create armies of followers with similar methods to that of Orochimaru. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if Orochimaru actually trained under a Lich King. He wouldn't be the first in these lands who has trained under a Dark Lord. Hidan of Hot Spring Village was trained under Jashin, a weaker Dark Lord. Danzo replied, we are getting off track here. What exactly would Konoha gain if we were to work up a treaty with you? Naruto reached for his lips and said, I've had some time to read up things I felt would help me locate powerful souls to help me. One such thing was something you call the Chunin exams. When a village hosts these exams, the host village economy grows, as does the amount of tourists that village has. Correct? Yes, Shikaku replied, nodding. Naruto continued, now another thing. Your village runs a prison somewhere that has many prisoners that you have to pay security to guard, building upkeep expenses, food for the guards and prisoners. It all seems like a huge debt on your village that continues to grow with each new prisoner. Correct? No one replied to that, and Naruto replied, I'll take that as a yes anyways, since according to the history book I read it seems that you have had several years of peace and prosperity. There is an old saying, Peace dulls a blade with time. I'm sure those who have fighting experience know what I am referring to. I assume that your village has a way to make sure your ninja's skills do not dull over time, but odds are it is inefficient and very costly. Naruto looked up at the roof and said, in my homeland, as I told you, there are many different species of creatures who live there. In our prison there we have had to house many different creatures who have blood feuds older than the Uchiha Senju blood feud I read about. Prisoners die all the time, which could cause a massive prison riot and civil war. Except we created a seal that makes it where anyone who dies in the prison will have their soul pulled to a secure room instead of them passing on, and the seals in that room recreate their bodies. That caught your attention, huh? No, it will not let you send your ninja out to conquer the world without the fear of dying, because the seals require certain things to work that I refuse to reveal that can't be duplicated. But what I can do is create a business here in Konoha that would draw in tourists similar to the Chunin exams, who will have the opportunity to gamble on who would win, which would cover the cost of taking care of the prisoners who would be fighters in these battles. Which would also give you a chance to have your ninja every day if they choose to battle, as well as have your genin experience their first kill without worrying about them freezing in the field and dying, and that is only a few of the benefits my proposal would create. Danzo replied, what would you want in exchange for this? My bloodline that allowed me to capture all his soul here only works on those who I actually defeat in battle or those who surrender their souls to me, Naruto stated. The prisoners in your prison will fight to help Konoha increase your economy and increase the skills level of your ninja for as long as they are incarcerated here. If they refuse to fight in the battle pit until their time is up or they die of old age, then they have to surrender their souls to me. When the word gets out about this fighting, the number of criminals working in the Fire Nation will decrease here and increase in other areas, which will cause the good people in those areas to either move to Fire Country or pressure their leaders to become allies with Konoha in order to gain its protection from the criminals. Essentially, this arrangement could help make Konoha the world's police force, which would encourage other countries to either become military allies of Konoha in order to receive a portion of the profits, or to become like the tourist trap that is the Hot Spring Village. Additionally, feudal lords only see the potential skills of genin through the Chunin exams at the moment, so having this battle arena would allow you to showcase the full skill capability of your genin, Chunin, Junin, Anbu, and even your Hokage, if the council and Hokage make it so that Konoha ninja are required to fight at least once a month to maintain their skills. Imagine the publicity that would result from the great Sharingan Kakashi battle against the Jiraiya of the Sannin and Hiruzen Sarutobi. Hell, even other village leaders might come to watch a battle like that or take part in them in an attempt to attract customers to their village. The other cages will make a peace treaty with Konoha in exchange for the opportunity to come here and fight in the arena, sending some of their more skilled fighters here rather than going on a mission to advertise their village. It's the best of both worlds. Once this is set up, Konoha will be in charge of it and will receive all the profits, with the exception of a small tribute to me, of course. After calming down, Danzo inquired, what kind of tribute? Naruto stated, besides the souls of those cowards who give up fighting, 10% of all profit of the business that I set up, as well as you giving me all information on people or objects of interest that I find might be able to help me in my quest to return to my homeland. Unlimited access to the battle arena for me, my friends, allies, and servants. After all, I need those fighting under me to be able to increase their skills levels, just like you will be doing for your ninja. I've found the best way to do that is through combat. Danzo replied, what can you use to back up your claim that this won't be a waste of resources to Konoha instead of a profit? Naruto stated, if you are going to be Hokage someday, Danzo, then you need to think outside the box. People come here to watch the fights. That lodging they will pay for, food they will pay for, souvenirs they will pay for, entertainment to keep them distracted when not watching the fights, the alcohol they will consume to help increase their time. As well as the seduction situations Konoha will have a chance to have their kunoichi practice on, or the information that your ninja could gather from overhearing VIPs talk. Also, you could gain some red light entertainment with legal brothels who give a percentage to Konoha for operating licenses. That's just to name a few. According to Shikaku, you seem to have this all planned out. Naruto stated, I've been doing this for years in hell. It's why I am one of the most respected people there, along with the riches, which is why my great aunt was forced to blackmail my grandmother to banish me. I'm too important to her future plans. I, who was staring down, was thinking, this is all an act. Kitsune is trying to keep from laughing. I can see it, and Shikamaru knows it as well, but why isn't he saying anything? Why is it I am following Naruto's orders to be quiet? I can feel it, his anger, his hate. Grandma, why have you caused this? Has everything I've been told and believed in been wrong? Danzo turned to Shikaku and said, this proposal is too important to be considered by just Shikaku, and I request you give us a chance to discuss this privately with the full council. Naruto replied, what exactly is there to discuss, because I've just told you about a business opportunity that your actions has cost you. I don't believe it would be in my best interest to make any kind of deal with you after not only the disrespect this council has given me but also the fact you have nothing of any real value that I can't get someplace else at a cheaper price. I'm only contractually obligated to stay here originally until the class 1 graduates, but thanks to your actions the deadline is only until a month before that class graduates. After that Kitsune and I will leave to go someplace else. I'm sure Iware Kumo would be interested in this deal. Hell, I got a few things I could offer them and get the same things from them that I would get from you at half the cost. I think I'll just go ahead and leave now since this is a waste of time, as he got up. Wait, this is your home, said Danzo. Naruto interrupted Danzo and replied, no, this is your home, not mine. I have no allegiances to you or anyone else in the elemental nations. I have no sympathy or emotions getting in my way. I am on a mission to return to my home as quickly as possible and nothing will get in my way of completing my mission. I've only met a few people that have not displeased me. One is sitting beside me but he's not moving or saying anything because Kitsune has him restrained with a jutsu in order to save his life from me because she has seen me when I am displeased like this council has caused me to be and knows that if he were to try and intervene on Konoha behalf I would make sure the next sunrise he saw was in hell. Now unless you have something that would interest me that I can't acquire somewhere else, then as far as I'm concerned this meeting is over. Danzo was thinking. This boy would make an excellent shinobi if he was only loyal to Konoha perhaps. After witnessing Naruto get to his feet, Danzo said, I have something that might interest you. Naruto sank slowly into his chair and uttered, really now what might that be? Danzo replied, it is not widely known but I am the leader of an Anbu Black Ops division called Root. Each are completely loyal to Konoha and would do whatever is required of them to complete the mission, and for Konoha each are highly skilled in combat. I would be willing to give you them in exchange for agreeing to the proposal you were speaking about. Shikaku said, Danzo, you can't be serious, that's, as many of the eyes in the room widened. He was cut off by Naruto, who asked, exactly how many are we talking about? 20, Danzo said. Snorts Naruto, that deal is insulting. I'd kill 5 times that many when you send them after me to keep what I am offering out of the hands of other villages, and I could just enslave their souls to me then. But why fight when we can negotiate? I'll counter offer you 200 of these root members in exchange for opening negotiations about a deal similar to the one I was originally considering. That deal was originally heavy rewards for you and only minor for me. I want something a little more fair to me. 50, Danzo said. According to Naruto, 150. Shikaku stated, this is madness, you can't barter people's lives like this. Why not? Your village does this all the time. Naruto said. Your Hokage trades with customers about missions that have the potential to, and frequently do, endanger another person's life. You are a hired assassin, a shinobi, a paid murderer. The price someone is willing to pay to have someone killed determines how much worth their life is. Blood money is the lifeblood of your village and your families. It's the same here. In the course of your work for Konoha, how many people have you killed? After Shikaku scowled, Danzo remarked, 100 of my men and $400,000 in cash. After a brief period of silence, Naruto raised both of his hands, and as they glowed and a scroll appeared in each, he remarked, very well. These 2 scrolls are similar to the one I have made with Hiruzen. You must sign the scroll in my right hand with your blood, Danzo. We have a contract with each other. It's just a precautionary measure. Put a drop of your blood on the bottom dotted line. According to this contract, you will give me $400,000 in cash and 100 of your root ninja. They will still be able to assist you because I don't want to meet these root ninja right now, and I won't need them until I begin preparing to return to hell. However, once you have signed your scroll, you will take the second scroll and have the 100 root ninja put a drop of blood on one of the 100 dotted lines in that scroll. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., you will return with that scroll, the blood for all 100, and the cash, and you will give them both to me. The first scroll will automatically activate and kill you if you try to deceive me by using criminals, random citizens, or even ninja who are not in your root division. There are 2 contracts here. My soul is at stake, just like yours, as I will be forced to try to negotiate with you for a week or until an agreement is reached. If you give me the scroll and the agreed upon sum of money, if no agreement is reached after a week, I have the right to end the talks. Do we have an agreement? You have a week to think of something I would like that you could provide? Naruto and his group were excused from the council chambers after Danzo signed the contract after reading it multiple times. Here Kitsune, take this and get you and I some cloths along with all 3 of you something to eat, Naruto said, scowling as he took out his wallet after going out on the street. As Shikamaru grunted in an attempt to escape Kitsune's shadow jutsu, I said, you're not coming. No, I'm going to get some sleep because I'm a little tired, Naruto said. Goodbye, he said as he vanished into his shadow. Before turning to Kitsune, I glanced at the location where Naruto had been standing and remarked, He was lying about being tired, wasn't he? With a deadpan tone, Kitsune replied, "Yeep. Why did he lie though?" I scowled. After giving I a quick glance, Kitsune said, "It's not my place to say you coming." I turned and started to leave. "I'm going back to the apartment, would you mind picking me up something?" I said, biting her lip. "I don't give a damn, I wear sizes 36, 25, and 33. Both Shikamaru's and Kitsu's minds froze for a moment. Kitsune turned to face I and said, "You're kidding, right? Life is so unfair. Goddamn you." Kami and Yami. She hooked her arm with Shikamaru and started to pull him away, saying, "Come on, lazy bones. She's not even completely grown up or out yet." "Wait, do you know where Naruto is?" asked Ai when he saw this. She received nothing but silence as Kitsune and Shikamaru disappeared. Shikamaru was on the verge of losing control of his body when Kitsune released the shadow hold she had on him after they had lost sight of Ai. He turned and exclaimed, "Troublesome vixen, what the hell was that about back there?" "I have no idea what you're talking about," Kitsune said, tilting her head to the side. "I'm talking about what Naruto hopes to achieve with this battle arena thing," Shikamaru said with a frown. Kitsune sighed and replied, "Truthfully, I don't know. I may have been his babysitter when his mother was out, but I only dared to teach him a few things and none of them didn't want to piss of Yami or Shinigami." Shikamaru was about to respond when an Anbu said, "Hokage-sama has requested both of your presences in the Hokage Tower immediately." Kitsune smirked and said, "Okay, Mr. Scary Anbu guy, can you take us there?" In a sweet, innocent voice Shikamaru opened his mouth, but Kitsune covered it with her hand. He glared at her and thought, troublesome. Both of them were shushed away with the Anbu after he placed his hand on each of their shoulders. Shikaku Nara and Hiruzen Sarutobi were present when they arrived at the Hokage office, and he asked, "Where are the other two at Anbu?" "According to the Anbu, my team and I have yet to locate them, Hokage-sama." Kitsune replied, "You won't either if my guess is right. Hokage-sama Kit's gone off to be alone to clear his head and I has gone chasing after him. You have about as much chance of finding him as a snowball in hell." Shikaku replied, "Is what Naruto said true? Were you holding Shikamaru with a jutsu?" As Kitsu's shadow emerged and made contact with Shikamaru, who grunted, they both started to raise their right hands. "Watch my shadow." With everyone's eyes wide, Hiruzen questioned, "How are you doing that?" Kitsune replied, "It's part of my bloodline. If I come into physical contact with someone I can absorb their powers for half the time I am in contact with them. If Shika-kun wouldn't have made my throat so sore the other night, then I'd be able to do this even longer than I am now. Yoshina-sama must be a very happy woman if Nara-sama is as well endowed as his son." With a blush on her cheeks. "Shikamaru, are you?" Shikaku said, his eyes widening as he turned to face Shikamaru. Shikamaru responded, "Troublesome vixen, my personal life is personal father. Respect your father, Shikaken. I know you're still upset about your parents fighting the other night, which is why I was willing to do anything to make you feel better. Don't follow the path of the emo. It only leads to gay pedophiles who want you for your body. Stay with me, Shika-kun. You're my only hope." Kitsune said the last part in a seductive manner while leaning against Shikamaru and giving him the Kitsune no jutsu. After hearing multiple thuds, Shikamaru and Kitsune turned to face the room and saw that Shikaku, Hiruzen, and the four Anbu were unconscious on the floor, with blood streaming from their noses. Shikamaru shook his head, and Kitsune placed her finger beneath his chin. He turned to face her, and she grinned and nodded before giving him a passionate kiss before they both vanished into her shadow. Then Shikamaru found himself on a bed with Kitsune on his lap. Shikamaru looked around hurriedly and asked, "Where are we?" Says Kitsune. "My room. You're not really considering doing that, are you?" Shikamaru said, giving her a fierce look. Shikamaru's hips were rubbed by Kitsune, who remarked, "Someone is and it's not me." "Troublesome, why are you doing this to me?" Shikamaru said, flushed. Kitsune looked innocent on her face and replied, "I'm not doing anything to you. At least nothing that you don't want to happen. Ah, don't give me that look, Shika-kun. If you were not interested in what might happen, then you would have shoved me off you and gone up and left deep down under that lazy attitude. You're as perverted as everyone else in the universe. Why do you think Kami and Yami are the way they are? Kami a submissive bitch and Yami is into S&M. Hell, even Gabriel a submissive bitch. That's why." When she stopped speaking. When Shikamaru saw Kitsune pause and give him a look on her face that he could read with ease, he became intrigued and said, "That's why. What Kitsune? What about Gabriel?" With a scowl, Kitsune left Shikamaru's lap and drew her knees to her chest, saying, "Just drop it, Shika. I'm not dropping anything, including my pants, unless I want to." Kitsune, "And I don't want to drop it, so tell me what you started to say." Shikamaru smirked. Kitsune blushed as she said, "Pervert I her father, he was one of the few souls I actually respected. Hell, I still respect him. His name was Sakumo Hitaki. With wide eyes, Shikamaru uttered, the White Fang is I father. With a sad tone, Kitsune nods and says, I doesn't know, not even Yami, Shinigami, or Naruto know. With a perplexed expression, Shikamaru asked, then how do you know? I'll only tell you if you agree to give me something as an insurance policy, Kitsune said, biting her lip. According to Shikamaru, what do you want? After giving him a quick glance, Kitsune remarked, I want you as mine for all eternity. Why me? What's so important to me that you would want me for all eternity? Shikamaru scowled. Kitsune sighed and said, I've met you before in a previous life. You've been reborn 4 times in the last 600 years. You've got a single birthmark line on your left hip. Your mom says it's because you were lazy inside her womb and stayed in one spot too long. Have you been spying on me? Shikamaru asked, his eyes widening. Kitsune shook her head and said, no, you got that mark because I gave it to your soul. It's a scar I gave you the first time we met. I had only been here for about 20 years after me and the other Biju were sent here. Humans were only just beginning to understand chakra then. It was amusing really when I think back to it, which explains how when we met I was defeated in combat. I didn't know the name you had at the time, but you were the leader to a village militia in a small kingdom that doesn't exist anymore. Your men had presented me with a gift of worship. 9 cauldrons full of meat and wine, 1 for each of my majestic tails. I thought it was so cute. It was actually the first time I had met a living human instead of those brought to hell. Even though I was not allowed to reveal my human form, I saw you as sort of a man who was coming to seek my hand by the praise you had the people sing to me and the gifts you gave me. I was naive and stupid back then. I asked for the leader who sought my blessing to come before me, and you did. I asked you to tell me about myself, and you acted like a lazy bum back then as well, but you were also as crafty then as I know you are now. You had the wine and food filled with a berry that causes a person to fall into a coma. Smirking, Shikamaru remarked, I could see that working. Kitsune replied, it did, except for my special ability. You had taken a precaution of taking an antidote to the berry poison in case I asked you to demonstrate it wasn't poison. As I was passing out I asked you how you defeated me and you told me about your plan and precaution. That was when I gave you that scar. I was desperate and I used one of my fangs to slice you open to drink your blood for the antidote. In my desperation I scared your soul. Shikamaru replied, I take it that I died, and when I was reborn you and I met again. Shikamaru went pale when Kitsune said, yes, it was a mercy killing though, I ate you in 1 bite. Kitsune responded, anyways, the second time we met was about 290 years ago. I was in what you call demon country. Of course my reputation as the strongest of the 9 Biju was being called into question. The other Biju and I had decided on a battle royal to prove once and for all who was the strongest. Of course someone would come up with an idea to eliminate all the Biju at one time. Care to take a guess? She looked amused. With a frown, Shikamaru asked, what did I do? Laughing, Kitsune remarked, you. What makes you think it was you? According to Shikamaru, it wasn't. Kitsune replied, no, you were the one who had to clean up the mess, the idiot who decided to bring an army to capture us. It's kind of funny actually, twice we met and twice you chose the wiser choice, the path of less violence. I'm not either of those 2 men, even if my soul was. Shikamaru scowled, adding, I'm me. Looking up at the ceiling, Kitsune grinned and said, did you know that a demon's word is binding? You said those same words to me the last time we met? Kitsune said nothing and Shikamaru said, the second time we met I had stolen the powers of the other Biju for myself during the fighting. But that power was too much for me to possess. My body couldn't handle it. I was going to die from chakra overload on a scale that would have wiped out everything for hundreds of miles. You realized my secret power and drank my blood from a wound I had, and even though it was toxic to you, you saved my life by drawing as much of my power as you could into your body, killing you and saving me. Kitsune looked at Shikamaru and said, as your body was destroyed I saw your soul and saw the wound I gave you before you passed on. I made a promise that day. Twice my arrogance caused me to nearly die, and twice you died to save me. I promised that the next time we met you would be able to control my power to stop me, so that whatever situation I found myself in that you would not have to do to save me. After Shikamaru's eyes narrowed and gradually widened, Kitsune remarked, figured it out, have we, Mr. Shadow? Shikamaru replied, are you telling me that is so very troublesome? Kitsune replied, that's right, you were Hashirama Senju, Shodem Hokage of Konoha, and the reason you could control me and all those under me who I had the power to boss around wasn't because of your Mokuton ability but because of the promise I made. You made Konoha because it was the smartest path of least bloodshed, so I ask now that you understand what it is I see in you, will you be mine? Now and forever will you be the one I can count on to protect me from myself? Will you become my master of shadows, the man who I can give my body, heart, and most precious item to, my soul to? If I find it less troublesome to accept your offer, what exactly will happen? Shikamaru asked, glancing up at the ceiling. Kitsune stated, if you accept my offer then you will claim me sexually. You must mark me as yours by biting me on the neck and I will do the same. This will link our souls together. My soul can't go to heaven, not that I ever would want to, and it can't go to limbo. Only humans are allowed in heaven by our souls becoming linked. I will stay here in this world with you until you pass away, and then your soul and mine will go to hell to live with the other non-human races serving under the leadership of Yami, who I believe is actually the better one to live under, considering Kami cares only for human souls while Yami cares about all souls. She only punishes those who are truly guilty. When the bedroom door was knocked on, Shikamaru closed his eyes and started to think. When Kitsune saw Naruto standing there shirtless, she scowled, got out of bed, opened the door, and blinked. Kitsune, what's Shika doing here? He asked. Kitsune replied, I was trying to seduce the lazy bum. What's wrong, Kit? You've got a weird look about you. With a nervous voice, Naruto bit his lip and said, I need advice, Kitsune, I'm scared. Shikamaru and Kitsune both noticed Naruto's flinch as Kitsune's eyes widened, and she said, Come in, Kit. In a firm voice, Kitsune then released Naruto's arm and said, Sorry, what happened? What's wrong? I can feel, Kitsune, really feel Naruto said in a terrified tone as he glanced at the arm where Kitsune had grabbed him. Kitsune responded, Whoa, slow down, you said you can feel, as if feelings of the flesh. What happened? Naruto, who had been shaking his head while Kitsune was talking, stopped and said, After I left you all earlier I came back here and took a shower to try and clear my head. I've told you before that being hit with all those thousands of drops of water distract my attention and make me forget what was bothering me. For a while I heard the door open to the bathroom and I figured it was you, since you used to come in and wash my back when I was younger and to talk to me when you knew I was upset like earlier. It wasn't, it was I. What did she do? Kitsune snarled, Naruto said, as he looked down and reflected on what had transpired. Rewind. When he heard the bathroom door open, Naruto was leaning against the shower wall, allowing the water to beat into his back. A tiny smile came to his face, and he thought, good ol' godmother. Don't you think I'm a little too old now to have you wash my back like you used to? Said Naruto, who was still facing the wall, as the sound of the curtain opened a few moments later. Naruto became tense when he heard a voice behind him say, everyone could use a hand every now and then. He turned quickly to see Ai standing in the shower with a towel wrapped around her. With a growl, Naruto commanded, What the hell are you doing in here? Get out. As though she was about to exit, Ai bit her lip and reached for the curtain end close to Naruto. However, she used her other hand to pull on the towel, which caused it to fall to the shower floor. With her hand on his shoulder rather than the curtain, Ai asked, Are you sure you want me to leave? As Naruto's eyes widened and he started to absorb her body. The next instant, Naruto groaned as a sensation passed over his chest where Ai's hand had been, and his eyes rolled backwards into his body. Ai moved in closer, putting her other hand on Naruto's chest as more sensation rocked his body. His legs started to shake. Sai leaned forward and kissed him. Put an end to the flashback. I've been in there awake ever since trying to figure out what happened, Naruto said. After that, I blacked out, and when I woke up, I found myself in my bed still naked, with Ai lying on me sleeping, her head on my chest. Why, while she was lying on me sleeping, some things made me feel one way and others made me feel another. I'm afraid. Kitsune, I had no desire to move. What's going on, Kitsune? What did she do to me? I wanted to lie there with her body against mine, her hair spread out on my skin, her body odor wafting through my nose, and her breathing sound resonating in my ears. An AI voice spoke from the door before anyone could respond, saying, I healed your body, I restored to you what was taken from you the day you were born. Naruto questioned, Why did you do that? As everyone turned to face Ai, who was wearing a bathrobe. You weren't asked to do that by me. What are you after? With a tone of accusation. You saved me from my mother when, as far as you knew, I was your enemy, Ai remarked. You told me that Kami was mistaken and that everyone has the gift of free will. Ever since I met you, I've been doubting myself and my beliefs. You might claim it was to annoy Grandma Kami or for some other reason to support your plans, but I believe the real reason is that you're not as bad as you seem and that you didn't want other people to experience what you did. Gazing out the window, Naruto remarked, You don't know what you're talking about. Perhaps you are correct, in which case what I did is meaningless, but I believe I am correct in that you were turning into the very thing you despise because you were growing indifferent to mortals, just as you say your grandmother was. You have forgotten what it means to be mortal and believe that you are superior to them. Your only concern is getting even, and you will stop at nothing to hold Kami accountable for the only way you could be emotionally harmed. No matter what you must do or who is harmed in the process, you haven't shown them, but I'm willing to wager that you possess angel wings, just like me. Which is why you did what you did in the council chambers earlier. I believe you see yourself as an angel of vengeance, and perhaps you call yourself a vindictive son of a bitch, and you have an angel form just like me. But if I'm right, then I want to be an angel of redemption because I think that you're not so far gone that you can't be saved. That as long as there is someone who loves you, you could be stopped from becoming the thing you hate most. I don't know what you feel for me, Naruto, but I love you, and it's not because of Grandma Kami or Mother or anyone else's plans or schemes. I love you because you have done something that no one else has ever done for me, I said, her eyes welling. You come to my aid when no one else has. My mother despises me because she never wanted me. Grandma has been so preoccupied with finding you and running heaven that she only gets to see me occasionally. Even when Kushina and Minato came to talk to me, it was always about you. When you saved me from Mother, you gave me hope that someone truly cared about Maya, and when you healed me while I was asleep, I felt something Haria in my heart. Grandma forced her to have me so that she and my brother Michael act like I didn't exist. I've had some people talk to me, but usually they see me as someone who could possibly get them closer to Grandma for a blessing or someone they might be able to use for some reason. You talk about the powers of Kami and Yami, you right. Like your grandmother, you have the power to heal the spirit because you have healed mine, so I decided I was going to do for you what you have done for me, Kitsune said as Shikamaru pulled her back toward him while Naruto was fully observing. When you were awake and enjoying my company, I pretended to be asleep while simultaneously awake in an attempt to give you the same sense of joy you gave me. I also healed your body and brought us as close as possible in the shower and bed. I wanted to be the first thing that made you happy so you could understand how you made me feel by being the first to make me happy. I love you, Naruto, with all of my heart, mind, body, and soul. I give you everything to use however you see fit because I believe in the man I know is inside your heart and not the angel of vengeance. But the man? I no longer care about Kami, Yami, their foolish bet, their mother, or anything else but you. He was interrupted by Naruto, who said, Enough. I thank you for healing my body, but I refuse to take what you are offering, Kitsune and Shikamaru said as I stopped talking and turned to face Naruto. The most valuable thing you possess is your soul. You're right about me. I'm a vindictive son of a bitch, but I'm not a monster. Besides, it doesn't matter if Kami or anyone else set up this trap or scheme. It's the one thing that really belongs to you and should never be taken or given away. Nothing can stop the council from falling into my trap now that they have already done so. The game is over because of their greed for the council to grant me permission to construct the battle arena. I will make any and all promises, but once they do, I will only make one demand. I will insist that I get to choose the first battle arena match and that I can choose any Konoha ninja to participate. If they grant me that, I will be able to defeat Kami and return to hell to be with my mother and grandmother. The only thing I will lose is the time until the council accedes to my request. Kami will be forced to free me from all of her schemes, fate, destiny, and other nonsense she may have up her sleeve if I manage to get her by the short hairs. You said you love me, Naruto said, turning back to Ai after staring out the window. Love is something that can be won, given, or stolen. You claim to offer me your body, but a body can be used for innumerable acts of pleasure or suffering by innumerable people. Your soul is the only thing you really possess. You don't love me. You are grateful for me because, for the first time in your life, your spirit is overwhelmed with pleasure, much like I was in the shower before I fainted. Love is an emotion that distorts the mind and body, causing mortals to make horrible mistakes. Don't waste so much money on something that will probably end up being a mistake. The price I pay you for the gift you gave me is your soul. All agreements are final. Goodbye, he said as he started to head for the door. Where are you going, Kitsune asked just before he vanished. Naruto declared, I'm going to enjoy the one things we don't have in hell while I can, sunshine against my skin. I was crying when he left, and Kitsune scowled as he turned to face Shikamaru, who nodded sympathetically. Kitsune then grinned, stood up, and said, come with me. With a voice full of pain, I asked, why? Because you're going to need to prove the same thing that I have to prove to the man I love. Kitsune said they might as well accept the fact that we will always love them. We can be far more disruptive than they are. After all, women are in charge of heaven and hell, after all, and every man is aware that nothing can make him angry like a woman who is scorned. As he was about to leave, Shikamaru froze and thought, Troublesome. A voice said, hello heathen, with venom in his voice, as Naruto sat on the Hokage monument staring up at the sky. After blinking and leaping off the ground, Naruto landed on his feet and started scanning his surroundings. Naruto noticed a man wearing white armor with angel wings protruding from his back. The man had brown eyes and white hair, and he looked to be in his late teens. With a frown, Naruto uttered, "Let me guess, Michael." According to the man, I see my reputation precedes me. According to Naruto, arrogant much, Michael replied, I'm here to smite you for what you did to my mother, you heathen. With a laugh, Naruto remarked, yes, Gabriel, how is she doing? After removing a bow from his back, Michael created an energy-based arrow and hurled it at Naruto's head, saying, goodbye heathen. He smirked, held the arrow with both hands, snapped it in half, and said, is that the best you can do? Naruto reached up and grabbed the arrow just an inch from piercing his eye. I believed you would smite this heathen. So you've been trained in soul defense, have you? Michael said, his lips pursed. Naruto replied, what can I say? Having a Lich King for a babysitter has its perks. Michael said, clenching his fist, are you making fun of me? Michael's voice was used when Naruto asked, are you mocking me? Michael exclaimed, know your place you, as he shot 20 feet above the mountain. Then, as Naruto appeared in front of Michael, who was gasping for air and leaning on Naruto's shoulder, a fist was buried in his stomach. Now hear me heathen, Naruto said, I've won, Kami, so take this message to that bitch. Her grand scheme for the Biju and me has been foiled. Not only will I defeat her in less than 2 weeks, but I will also take from her the innumerable souls that are now in heaven and send them to Limbo and Hell, including Minato and Kushina. I'll be at the temple north of here in 6 days. In addition to telling her that I have located the soul she and Yami have been searching for, I will have it with me that day. Tell her to meet me there at precisely noon or at 12:30. I will destroy all of her years of labor before going back to hell with all the souls I have taken her. I'll give my grandmother the soul to lure her to her side in order to win the wager. If she doesn't show up, you are also invited, along with your bitch of a mother. Pussy, Naruto thought as he turned around and sliced the back of Michael's neck. He let Michael fall to the ground and said, you've been spoiled your entire life and only attack at a distance, can't stand getting up close and personal, bitch. When Naruto heard footsteps on the ground, he turned to see Shikamaru standing there, staring from him to Michael before uttering the words, so who's the guy on the ground? To which Naruto replied, Michael, I brother. With a nod, Shikamaru said, come with me, I want to talk to you about something privately. That's for I, asshole. Naruto drew back, kicked Michael, and started to follow Shikamaru. Naruto raised an eyebrow when they arrived at Shikamaru's empty house, and Shikamaru responded, my mom moved back into her parents' house and dad's drinking. The statement from Naruto was, you hate me for causing that. Shikamaru replied, no, I hate myself for not noticing my mother's pain earlier. So what do you want to talk about? Asked Naruto. With a shoji set and a bottle of sake in hand, Shikamaru said, you mind? As Shikamaru put the board up and replaced the sake bottle, Naruto grinned, took out a scroll, opened a bottle of Jack, and poured them both some. He said, try this. While Shikamaru was taking a sip and coughing, Naruto took a shot of Jack. Naruto then made the first move on the board, and Shikamaru asked, so did you really find the soul Kami and Yami are looking for? So you were there longer than I thought you were, Naruto grinned. According to Shikamaru, you didn't answer my question. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't, Naruto said. There is nothing you can do to force me to tell you, and I won't tell you unless absolutely necessary. Fair enough, so why did you refuse my offer? Shikamaru asked. Why are you not jumping at Kitsu's offer? Asked Naruto. So you were there longer than I thought also, huh? Shikamaru remarked. In an attempt to counter Shikamaru, Naruto grinned and remarked, I've also read her diary back in hell. You know she's not as old as you might think. With an eyebrow raise, Shikamaru remarked, you think it's because of her age? Leaning back, Naruto gazed at the board and uttered the words, isn't it? No, Shikamaru replied. Well, I'm not who she believes me to be. She expects me to pair me up with a guy she likes, even though I'm only a teenager just starting out in life. Naruto glared at Shikamaru while covering his mouth with his hand. When Naruto was certain Shikamaru would not speak, he said, do you know how a soul ages, Shikamaru? They don't. Souls never go out of style. A person's willpower is the only reason a soul appears younger or older. When mortals are reborn, their souls usually change to match the life they have. For example, a person with a strong will, who feels unbeatable, and who has nothing to worry about would appear as a child, while someone who is troubled by decisions or regrets would appear much older. Kitsu looks the age she does because she has no real regrets from her past. In other words, she is essentially as old as you are now in spirit, and her body is the same age as you. Time causes you to forget a lot of things because they aren't as important as you once thought they were. Unless they are truly important, you must be significant to Kitsu if she still remembers you after all these years. But, Shikamaru said, You have a choice, Shika, Naruto said, placing his hand on Shikamaru's shoulder. I can't give you instructions, I simply know that Kitsune has never liked anyone but you. After glancing at the board, Shikamaru remarked, it looks like I might lose this game. Naruto stated, that's what happens when you don't take a chance or understand the game. You're right, Shikamaru said, casting a downward glance. I've already lost if I'm not willing to take a chance, but what if you are up against someone who has a lot more experience than you? Shikamaru caught Naruto's eye, and he said, so that's what your problem is. With a sigh, Shikamaru said, I told you that time makes you forget things, Naruto said, flicking him between the eyes with a shogi piece to stop him. You're thinking about all the things she knows and has experienced in the past, but she's forgotten them over time. It's similar to reading a book now and then again 20 years later, and while you might remember a few things or feel a sense of familiarity, it's hazy. Some of the things she did last week, let alone hundreds of years ago, are now forgotten because you're scared of a challenge. Are you really going to push her away for that reason? If so, you should simply give up your soul right away since you are only living. How are you and AI doing? Shikamaru inquired. You can't give Shika something that isn't yours, Naruto said, casting a downward glance. My soul and AI's soul are currently owned by someone else. My mother owns my soul. And Kami owns Ai's soul. Since your Yondaime and Ai's souls were staked before she was born by Kami, mine was taken from me the day I was born. As long as Yami and Kami's bet is in effect, neither of us is free to choose who we want to be with. With a look of comprehension, Shikamaru's eyes widened and started to dart back and forth before he said, troublesome. Naruto replied, yeah, troublesome. If I don't do what Kami says, then she can hold Kitsune's soul as hostage, where she will be forced to suffer at the hands of her brother and mother for all eternity, and my soul belongs to my mother because of the rules of Yami and Kami bet about a soul being sacrificed in order to summon my mother. Shikamaru responded, I think I understand everything, but one thing, why did you turn her down like that? According to Naruto, as long as the illusion they perceive is maintained, a person who is unaware that they are a slave can lead a happy life. If everything goes according to my plan, she will soon be free to live her life and find someone else she truly loves rather than someone she respects out of gratitude. Speaking of which, would it bother you if I stayed here until I met Kami? I don't want to get sidetracked while I and Kitsune are at my apartment. You're good, Shikamaru said with a grunt. Since you defeated me, I suppose you are welcome to stay, but only if you will share some information with me about Ai's father. With a sly smile, Naruto remarked, I have no idea what you are talking about. I see, said Shikamaru as he made his way to the hallway. Naruto remarked, well, I'm going to take a nap. Talk to you later, Shika. When Shikamaru saw him go, he got up and walked away. 20 minutes later, Kitsune and I approached him as he lay in a field gazing up at the sky. Hey Shika-kun, have you seen Naruto? Kitsune asked. According to Shikamaru, yeah, I've seen him, as Kitsune put it, and where is he? After sitting up, Shikamaru glanced at Kitsune and then at I before stating, I've been thinking about what you said earlier, Kitsune. In response, Kitsune said, oh, and what about it? I would like to place a wager with you. Shikamaru said, a wager concerning Naruto and AI. I'll accept what you offered, Kitsune, if I can persuade Naruto to be with her, but I won't if she can't. You and I are not allowed to meddle in the bet, so neither of us may assist her or Naruto. Kitsune replied, so a bet of no interference between us then? That's right, Shikamaru remarked, just like the wager between Kami and Yami. Do you agree then? Kitsune replied, only if you agree that I can be with you to keep me company until either she gives up or they get together. Deal? Deal. Sorry, neither Kitsune nor I can assist you in finding Naruto. Shikamaru said, you'll have to look for him yourself. I met Michael, by the way. When Kitsune and I heard this, they both froze, and Kitsune exclaimed, who? Michael, my brother. Shikamaru said, Michael used a bow and arrow to attack Naruto. Although I didn't witness the actual events, I did witness Naruto fly off the Hokage monument before collapsing. With a worried expression on her face, I asked, where is he? As Kitsune growled. First, answer a question for me. Shikamaru said, just as demons are revered for their words, angels are revered for theirs. I'll tell you what I want to know if you tell me. With a worried tone, I replied, yes we are. Then, Shikamaru said, make a vow to me that you will stay with Naruto until Kitsune informs you that she will watch him for you if I tell you where he is. Deal? Deal, said I. Where is it now? According to Shikamaru, my place. When Shikamaru said, you have to stay by my side, Kitsune, and you can't interfere with I and Naruto, Kitsune stood up and began to move after I vanished from view. That was the agreement. You son of a bitch, Naruto hurt? And Kitsune snarled. Who said he was hurt? Asked Shikamaru after the attack. I claimed he flew off the Hokage monument before collapsing before Michael collapsed back to the ground on the Hokage monument. He did fly off and punch him in the stomach. Naruto is now stuck with I, and you are stuck with me. Kitsune said, blinking. You? That's right, I hit you, Shikamaru said. Come now, you're annoying vixen, and watch the clouds with me. I have a hunch that fireworks are imminent. Smirking, Kitsune remarked, I knew there was a reason. It was that I loved you. I immediately materialized in Shikamaru's room after leaving the field, and she landed on top of Naruto, who was lying on Shikamaru's bed. What the hell? Naruto grunted, adding, damn it, Shikamaru, you ratted me out. Where am I? Asked I, blinking and looking around in confusion. I appeared immediately next to Naruto after he fell into his shadow and appeared atop the Hokage monument. I appeared even more perplexed, and Naruto growled before vanishing once more and reappearing in the forest of death. Damn it, said Naruto, stop following me. I replied, I'm not. What is going on? Why'd I keep appearing next to you? What were you doing just before you appeared next to me? Asked Naruto with a frown. I replied, getting ready to come help you heal from Michael's attack. Shikamaru. Damn it. Where is he? Said Naruto. I replied, come with me, I'll show you. Damn it, Shikamaru. What's going on here? Why is I keep appearing next to me? Said Naruto as they entered a field 20 minutes later and found Kitsune lying on Shikamaru's shoulder. Shikamaru laughed and replied, sorry Naruto, I can't help you and neither can Kitsune. A demon's word is binding and we agreed to not help you or I sorry. With a scowl, Naruto called Shikamaru a bastard. One thing Shikamaru said was, takes one to know one. I glanced at Kitsune, who was grinning, and Shikamaru, who appeared to be sleeping with a smile on his face, before she vanished and reappeared beside Naruto, who screamed, damn you Kami. Naruto growled and began to stomp away with I. After attempting to flee I for 4 hours, during which he appeared above the women's hot springs and then vanished again, causing I to appear above the springs and fall in. Getting Sokei to Naruto eventually made an appearance in his bedroom. I would instantly appear where he was if he got too far away. I's clothes were still wet when she first appeared, and she was sitting Indian style, tapping her finger against her arm while sternly asking, are you done yet? Naruto replied, yeep. You're stuck with me. That's one for you Shikamaru, but you're going to face the wrath of the prankmaster from hell. Pun meant. Before a frying pan slammed Naruto's skull upside down and knocked him unconscious, I said, good. After hearing a ringing noise, Kitsune entered Naruto's bedroom, blinked, and inquired, where did you get the frying pan? I stated, the restaurant. He appeared in trying to lose me, causing me to nearly fall onto the hot stove. Since then I've held onto this baby, just waiting for him to finally stop. As Kitsune nods, I asks, so what are you up to? Kitsune laughed as he said, moving in with Shika-kun. I'm stuck to him like you were to Naruto. That means that you and Naruto-kun are going to be living all alone. When she said the word by itself, Kitsune wiggled her eyebrows, and I blushed. Kitsune straightened up a bit and said, I can't help you and right now I wish I could, but do what you feel is right. I replied, but what if my feelings won't tell me what to do? As she turned to leave the room, Kitsune said, take a deep breath, count to 10, clean out your ears, and listen again. Your feelings are never wrong, it's your head that doesn't understand. I replied, I thought you couldn't help me. Kitsune replied, I was talking to myself. Just because you overheard what I said doesn't mean I was helping you. As she left the room, Kitsune remarked, loopholes are the reason miracles happen. I's eyes widened. I heard Shikamaru say, troublesome, just before the apartment door shut. After letting out a sigh, I picked Naruto up and placed him on the bed. She then lay down next to him, resting her chest on his head and thinking, I'll only rest my eyes while I wait for him to wake back up. I had her arms encircling him and her head resting on his shoulder. When Naruto woke up several hours later, he closed his eyes and fell back asleep after he sighed to himself, maybe I can enjoy this if only a little bit. When Naruto awoke the following morning, he discovered that I had been vanishing in a cloud of smoke and then resurfacing. Naruto scowled, sat up, and asked, what are you doing? It's not me. I think Grandma Kami is trying to summon me back to heaven, but as soon as I disappear I reappear back here. I stated whenever she appeared. Really? So right now Kami is probably getting upset, right? Naruto said, raising an eyebrow slightly. When I returned, she said, could you repeat that? I didn't hear all of that. Before he got out of bed and began getting dressed, Naruto put his finger to his chin and glanced at I's disappearing act. He then said, oh Shika, you naughty boy, I could almost kiss you for this. After putting his hands together quickly, Naruto's cage Bunshin materialized and said to the clone, you know what to do. He then turned and waited for a moment before grabbing Ai's hand, and the clone vanished along with her. As soon as they both showed up, Naruto was in what seemed to be a white throne room and thought, it looks like Grandma's place but white. A key blast was then directed towards Naruto and Ai, and a voice that both Ai and Naruto recognized as Gabriel said, "Heathen, what are you doing here?" "Hello you ugly bitch, still as disgusting as the last time I saw you. How's Michael, still being a pussy?" Naruto said, turning to face the source of the voice. A voice said, "Enough, what are you doing here, mortal?" as Gabriel snarled. Turning toward the new voice, Naruto uttered the words, "Let me guess, you're Kami." Terrified by her mother's ki, Ai turned to the new speaker, bowed rapidly, and said, "Grandmother." Ai stopped talking when she saw Kami raise her hand and say, "You're the child of prophecy, Naruto Uzumaki, right?" Naruto replied, "What was your first guess? The fact I look like the bastard who donated his sperm to the bitch who gave birth to me, or the fact that I, who's supposed to be a gift to me, won't let go of my hand?" Kami stated, "I know you were raised in hell, but I will not forgive you for your language if you keep talking with such disrespect in my." Yeah, Naruto said, gesturing with his hand, "Did Michael give you my message?" Kami arched an eyebrow and asked, "What message?" as Gabriel stiffened. "So you haven't told your mother that I've discovered the soul she and Grandma Yami have been waiting for?" Naruto said with a sly smile as he turned to face Gabriel. "What is he talking about, daughter?" Kami asked, her eyes widening as she turned to face Gabriel. "Mother, I have no idea what he's talking about," Gabriel said. Naruto replied, "Really? So you deny the fact that you sent Michael to assassinate me after I defended Ai from you when you were torturing her, which is what happened to your voice?" Kami remarked, "This is a joyous occasion, it means that," as Gabriel scowled. Naruto replied, "Not so fast Kami, you seem to have forgotten the little fact that you don't know who the soul is or where to find it. I on the other hand have an ace up my sleeve because I can have informed my grandmother where to find the soul and she could be already showing her gift to him and you have no way of knowing until I tell you where to find him." "That would be cheating and," Kami scowled. Naruto interrupted her and replied, "As you pointed out, I was raised in hell. Who's to say my morals aren't low enough that I would cheat to help the woman I see as family win? Of course I might also be up for bribery to help you as well. I am a mortal human after all." "I see you are a greedy individual. What is it you are wanting?" Kami said, squinting her eyes. Naruto laughed and replied, "I am even more sure now than I was a few moments ago that Gabriel hasn't told you anything about what has been going on. After all, she wouldn't want you to turn on her for defying you or causing you to be put in a position of losing your little bet." With a hiss, Kami turned to face Gabriel and asked, "What is he talking about, daughter?" "The mortal is lying, mother, and is trying to trick you into returning him to hell to be with your sister and her offspring," Gabriel said, glaring at Naruto. Naruto responded, "You seem to forget something. Mortals have the ability of free will. As you already know, Kyuubi went back with me to the mortal world, but she wasn't sealed in me. I may have been a Jinchuriki for a short while and I did come to heaven, but you see, I happen to know that in less than an hour, the gates of heaven are going to be broken wide open and all the souls that have come to heaven since Konoha was founded will be taken from here and sent back to the mortal world along with both Ai's soul and my own," with a smirk. As the eyes of everyone widened, Kami exclaimed, "You're lying." Then there was a screech, and everyone's eyes shifted to see the gates of heaven bending and moaning. Naruto exclaimed, "Whoa, that was even quicker than I thought it would be." As the gates exploded and a tremendous gust of wind started to blow toward them, Gabriel exclaimed, "Impossible, this can't be happening." Naruto grabbed Ai's hand and said, "See you both on the flip side, bitches." Then his wings flew out of his back, and he and Ai started to fly out of the gates as the souls of numerous people started to fly past Kami and Gabriel. When Kami attempted to stop what was happening with her powers, she became very upset and exclaimed, "Impossible, my powers are gone." As they both entered the gates of heaven, the shocked Ai closed her eyes and put her arms around Naruto's chest, shedding tears as he thought, "Yeah, Shika, you're getting a kiss. I wonder what I'll have to pay Kitsune to kiss him for me." While the ground in Konoha started to tremble and the gates of hell started to emerge from the earth, the sky above the village darkened and the gates of heaven appeared to open wide. A huge three-headed dog emerged as the gates of hell opened, and Naruto, who had just blasted out of heaven, saw it and swooped toward it, saying, "Hey Cerberus, boy who's a good boy, who's a good boy." He then landed on Cerberus's center head. When the dogs got excited and started barking, Naruto patted their tongues and yelled, "Down boys, down." The two dogs on the side attempted to lick Naruto. The dogs sat down, but as souls started to fly out of heaven and hell, their shared tails were wagging. "Naruto, what is going on here?" Yami exclaimed as she appeared at the entrance to the gates of heaven, looking around to see her grandson sitting on Cerberus' head. As Kami stood at the gates of heaven, Naruto winced and heard a voice say, "That is what I want to know as well, sister." Naruto laughed and replied, "Too bad both of you can't step outside that gate, but to answer your question, a few moments ago I signed a contract with the Council of Konoha, who agreed to let me use any ninja of Konoha or ally for a demonstration of something I was offering. They never said it had to be an active, retired, or living Konoha ninja, and since at one time every nation was allied with another who later was allied with Konoha, every ninja of every ninja village since Konoha was founded has been brought back to life, and according to the contract, no force of heaven or hell can break this contract. That means you are both powerless to stop it." After Yami and Kami both scowled, Naruto remarked, "But now here's the fun part, yo Tsukumo, you here?" Gabriel went pale as Tsukumo Hitaki's figure emerged and declared, "I'm here, Naruto." Kami squinted and uttered, "You? How dare you appear in my presence, you?" Both Kami's and Yami's eyes widened and turned pale when Tsukumo said, "I'm the fisherman." Naruto, who was chuckling at the shocked expressions on their faces, said, "Ha ha ha, priceless to think you had him in heaven, but because your daughter Gabriel was angry at you for forcing her to have lied to you about how she became pregnant, so you lost your chance to pamper him and get him to vote for you, and instead you banished him to hell where he was punished for a crime he didn't commit. In other words, you both fucked up." Yami turned and angrily said, "You knew? Not until I arrived and read about Konoha White Fang, the man with the white chakra that served as a signal to you both to distinguish him from other souls," Naruto remarked. Tsukumo said, "Save it." As Kami and Yami began to open their mouths as he started to approach Cerberus, he said, "I have nothing to say to either of you right now." He then turned to face Naruto and I and said, "Hello, my daughter." I said in a curious tone, "Dad, is that really you?" Because she couldn't believe what she was seeing and hearing. Tsukumo looked to the side and saw Kakashi standing there with a shocked expression on his face, and he nodded. "I've dreamed of seeing you every day since I found out your mother was pregnant with you. Hello Kakashi, my son." Naruto said, "Tsukumo, I know that you want to speak with both of your children right now, but the world is currently erupting into Armageddon." As Kakashi opened his mouth to speak, "Currently, neither Kami nor Yami are able to touch you, and if you choose one over the other, the winner of the match will probably smite and torture you and your children for all eternity." Tsukumo said, "What do you suggest then?" with a frown. Naruto said, "At this moment, my soul belongs to Yami and her followers, and I's soul belongs to Kami and her followers. After glancing at Kami and Yami, since I care about each other but are unable to see each other, we will both suffer no matter what. We can never be free as long as there is a bet, and even if you pick one over the other, AI and I would still lose." Kami remarked, "Don't listen to that boy," as Tsukumo scowled. "He's stop talking, Kami." Tsukumo said, "My daughter has been rescued and shielded from her violent mother by that boy he saw fighting and chaos erupting throughout the village as dead enemies attacked the living for various reasons, and he said, I trust him more than I trust you or Yami. I assume that you have a reason for creating Armageddon. Souls that are sent to hell are punished for eternity even after they have forgotten what their crimes were originally and have repented," Naruto said, nodding. "The souls sent to heaven eventually grow conceited with their lifestyle there and forget the honorable and good deeds they performed to earn it." An excellent illustration of what I mean is Gabriel. I suggest that you declare that Kami and Yami must both carry on with their current activities, but that if a soul in heaven grows conceited, they are sent to limbo to be reborn. And if a soul in hell has been redeemed, they are also sent to limbo to be reborn. As they all watched, Yami and Kami's eyes widened, Gabriel scowled, and Shinigami's face lit up with pride. Tsukumo then remarked, "But how would that protect you and I? Someone must determine whether a soul has been corrupted in heaven or redeemed in hell," Naruto remarked. "As the angels of salvation and damnation, I assume that both AI and I will judge whether a soul has been redeemed or corrupted after death." As he considered the words, Tsukumo nodded his head, and Gabriel responded, "You can't do that. All you get to choose is whether Mom or Yami wins, and you're only receiving preferential treatment because of a foolish wager." A chuckle drew everyone's attention, and Tsukumo said, "Silly little girl," in a voice that made Kami and Yami freeze. "You are so self-centered and arrogant that you are unable to recognize when you have been duped." "Father, is that you?" asked Yami. "Dad," Kami said, "it isn't possible." Tsukumo replied, "You both have become foolish since I left you both to give you time to spread your wings, my daughters." When Gabriel heard what her mother, aunt, and Tsukumo had to say, she looked shocked and asked, "What is going on here?" When Tsukumo Hitaki was born, he was on the verge of passing away, Tsukumo stated. The fisherman was dying and would have died as a result of the chakra marker your mother and aunt put on his soul. His parents pleaded for a miracle, So I gave in and allowed myself to enter Tsukumo's soul in order to see what my daughters had accomplished without them realizing I was there. I was impressed when I got to heaven, but then I met you and realized how arrogant you were, Gabriel, and how arrogant my daughter Cammy had grown. It was so upsetting to me that I almost hit you myself. That's why I made Tsukumo treat you like a bitch in heat when you threatened to exile him from heaven unless he had a child with you in hell. I saw Yami and my other grandchild Shinigami. I gave them both a small token of my compassion, and that small gesture ruined Cammy's plan by allowing Shinigami to choose to wait a little longer before stealing Minato's soul and turning Kyuubi into Naruto. This is where we are now because of that gift. Tsukumo turned to face Naruto and I and said, I have many names and I don't look like this, but you can't see how I really look, even though I'm my daughters. But for now, you can both call me great-grandfather, and I'm sorry for the hurt our families have caused you both. I'm proud of you both in ways you can't even imagine. Even though you may try to deny it, I know that you two care about one another. I hereby declare that both of your souls are free, and I do agree that the souls in heaven and hell should eventually be sent to limbo in order to be reborn. You will remain in heaven, Cammy, and Yami will remain in hell, but neither of you will become the angel of salvation or damnation. Those are titles that belong to your mothers, respectively. However, Gabriel, you will be punished for your crimes by spending time in hell, and your son Michael will take your place during this time you are currently on peril. Michael the first don't like what you're doing either. He looked at the people he was speaking to and said, you will take over your mother for a while because I will give you a chance to redeem yourself without her influence. I am bestowing the title of guardian angels upon you both, Tsukumo said, turning back to face Naruto and I. Both of you will be permitted in every realm to meet the needs of people you believe deserve divine assistance. You will have the ability to interact in either mortal or spirit form as you see fit. It is forbidden for Yami and Cammy to directly affect mortals' lives only after they pass away, or Shinigami and Gabriel permitted to meddle with mortals if you both believe that the mortals need assistance. You will be the only ones who can engage with them to provide it. You will both be better able to comprehend the needs of people around the world if you have empathy for those who are experiencing both physical and emotional pain. Are you both aware of what I'm giving you? She gave him a nod, and Naruto, who was still clinging to I, replied, yes. Good, Tsukumo said. Please speak if you need my advice or counsel. After he snapped his fingers and all of the people who had escaped from heaven and hell vanished, he said, I may not respond immediately or in the manner you would expect, but I am always listening and watching now to end this foolishness. Tsukumo remarked, almost all mortals have forgotten everything that has transpired since you two first appeared, Naruto and I. Everything else has been reset, but I have let Kitsune and Shikamaru retain their memories. You now have the power to decide what will occur. I love you both, Yami and Cammy. But please make my next visit more pleasant. I will now send your father's soul back to Limbo to be reborn. But you will be able to see him when he is reborn. Don't make me chastise you both. Goodbye, he said, vanishing in a ray of light. Do you love me? Naruto asked, glancing at Ai, who bit her lip. I have since the first time I saw you, Naruto said with a gentle smile. I simply took my anger out on you because of what transpired when my mother was taken from me. Shikamaru, who had approached Kitsune in her fox form, said, troublesome. So what do we do now? As I bent up and planted a kiss on Naruto's lips. After they parted ways, Naruto remarked, I think I should spend some time getting to know Ai. He glanced at Ai and said, there's nothing that says that we have to start right away, is there? The expression on Naruto's face made Ai laugh, and she shook her head, saying, I don't think so. Naruto replied, then how about we spend life with Shikamaru and Kitsune for now? In her fox form, Kitsune uttered, how will we explain my presence here, then, if anything has changed? Shikamaru, Kitsune, you are both late for class, Iruka said as she approached. Being engaged to one another does not grant you the right to skip class. Shikamaru asked, what do you mean we are betrothed to each other? As everyone blinked. Don't play dumb with me, Shikamaru, Iruka said when Konoha agreed to support the bloodline side in order to put an end to the civil war there. Kitsune was sent here as part of the peace deal between the Godem Mizukage and the Sandame Hokage. Since you first saw each other, you have been inseparable, and it was decided that you and she would get married. Now, please. Iruka swiftly turned his head and yelled, and how many times do I have to tell you not to change without your clothes? As he pounded her on the nose, she was covered in smoke and transformed back into a human. And Shikamaru blew backwards with a nosebleed. It's time to get to class, both of you and Kitsune. Your bloodline is useful for scouting undetected, but now is not the time to be using it. Both guardian angels laughed as they left after Kitsune glanced at Ai and Naruto, who were averting their eyes and whistling naively, and Shikamaru muttered, troublesome. After shaking his head and thinking, best wishes my family, a figure out of sight vanished. Shinigami laughed and thought, this is payback for trying to hurt my son, bitch, ouch. That's got to hurt. Gabriel screamed in hell as she battled in the pit of endurance. Who knew a person's foot could get stuck there? Why did all the inmates target her after learning that she was here for crimes against Naruto and his mate? I doubt she will ever have children again, or sit again for that matter. It's frightening. Yami, who was standing next to Shinigami, said Naruto could have taken the throne from me at any moment if he had wanted to. He is respected by the inmates. They were aware that they were the ones imprisoned with him, not him. But he never used his strength or power for anything other than defeating them. He treated them fairly and honestly. Where did we go wrong in teaching him those values? This is hell, for crying out loud. Shinigami replied, I have no idea, mom. No idea at all, ouch. That makes my boobs hurt just looking at it. Did she just, Yami said, cocking her head to the side. Holy shit, she really is a bitch in heat. This isn't hell. This is heaven for her, Shinigami said, blinking. I think I need to talk to Dad about sending her back. Yami stated she is frightening the rapists and murderers. After stepping back, Shinigami remarked, we never mentioned this to Naruto, right? Yami replied, yeah, he doesn't need any more mental scarring. So how long do you think it will take for you to become a grandma yourself, dear? Shinigami replied, I don't know, but I bet I'll be damned before I let Gabriel near my grandchild. Yami replied, you're already damned, dear. It comes with the neighborhood. According to Shinigami, bless you, mother, Yami replied, don't curse at your mother, young lady, or. According to Shinigami, or what, mother, Yami replied, I'll lock you in the pit with Gabriel and make you watch her having fun. With a pale face, Shinigami uttered, you win, mother. Damn straight I do. Yami said. Both women hurried away, swearing not to turn around. As a scream of pleasure erupted from the pit, Michael shivered in heaven and asked himself, why do I feel like I'm going to be a brother again?
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.